You're just a downbeat wet blanket, fairly lazy, sloth, champagne guzzling bum.
Stimulating late-night sports conversation for people who know that just trying to find someone sober to talk to at this time of night is like trying to find a pig on the moon.
In the early morning mist I see.
No rules news debate from around the world and around the bend. The two mics.
Apply more lager.
On Talk Sport.
Yeah.
Look at the light!
Don't worry about the time, mate, when 150,000 penguins are at risk. You know, if somebody, I don't feel well, give me a tablet. People take tablets. I don't take tablets.
You take 27 tablets a day.
I do for my heart. I mean, they're heart tablets, yeah.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and I'm delighted to say that Mr. Mike Porky Parry, risen from his sickbed like Lazarus, is here because he can't let the listeners down. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yes, good morning, Mark. Sorry, what's your problem?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've never seen anyone make themselves out to be... You've got a bit of man flu, right? Man up and stop making yourself out to be some kind of victim.
If you knew what I've been through today...
What have you been through?
If I lie down and all the fluids in my lungs...
No, I don't want any details.
Are just trying to throttle me.
Yeah.
Got to remember only 1/3 of my heart works to fight this.
So you keep saying.
And
some people are actually quite concerned.
Oh, well,
some people have said you should... I mean, I don't want you to take any time off, obviously, because I want you in here to do the work that you're paid to do.
The milk of human kindness does still exist. I've had some very compassionate notes, but on the other hand, led by yourself and your cynicism and your... desperate desire to put me down at every turn.
Not at all.
I've had...
All right, let me read you this one from Hackman.
I've had some rather vile messages from people.
Well, there's one here.
Wishing ill on me.
No, one says, MG, make sure Porky works for his wages tonight. No more pretending that he's ill. Hashtag man flu. Well, you got man flu. That's all you got.
I've got worse than man flu.
You just need to man up.
Only 1/3 of my heart works. When you've got man flu and you've only got a third of heart, it's like having triple man flu.
Yeah, I couldn't care less.
Can you stand that?
I couldn't care less. You're going to look after yourself better.
Care less.
I've told you how many times have I told you? You've got to sleep more. You've got to, look after yourself more. You've got to eat proper food. You've got to drink a bit less.
I do all that.
And you will be a much happier and much healthier man.
No, I do all that.
And, because otherwise, we've got to go to Cheltenham on Friday, don't forget.
Well,
I don't want to be dragging your carcass around the course because you're feeling like you can't get up the stairs or something ridiculous.
My God, I don't know if I can...
Do you want me to order you some kind of a, stretcher bearer or something?
No. I will, I'll be stoic to the end.
Really?
You know that, but, it's a battle, but it's a battle that I'm prepared to face. It's a battle that I know that I will have to win. It's a battle that I know will drain the energy out of me. But
what do you think you are, Churchill now?
No. But I will get on with it.
I will fight the one.
I won't be complaining.
Yeah, well, good. Well, let's not hear any more complaints, shall we? So
right.
Since you've been kind enough to make the effort to come in, you might as well pretend like everything's normal.
Right,
How about this one from Matt? He says, Porky must have had a drip pumping Red Bull straight into his system to have got him out of his deathbed and into Talk Sport.
Well,
do you need a supply of Red Bull or anything while you're here?
No, don't need a supply of Red Bull. But funny you should say that, actually, because I was going to mention to you something which I've been looking at over the weekend. Do you know that Gazza, who, of course, is one of our favourite footballers and a man whose legend, persists, despite the fact that he gave up playing football 20 years ago, do you know that he's trying to cure his alcoholism now and a lot of his problems by literally attaching himself to a Marmite drip?
A Marmite drip?
Marmite drip, yeah.
Why, what's in Marmite?
Well, he's come across what he says is an alternative cure.
Right.
And since the start of the year...
Well, so some quack has recommended it and he's fallen for it.
Well, I don't know if he's a quack or not, but since the start of the year, he's been getting fortnightly 500ml infusions of a compound derived from niacin, and niacin is the vitamin found in Marmite.
Really?
Yeah. And he's told friends, and I know this because I've heard it from 2 or 3 different sources, he's convinced the treatment's helping him.
Well, it's good. Well, anything that can help is obviously worth a try. But I think an awful lot of it's in the mind, isn't it?
Funny you should say that. We'll come on to that in a minute. But he says it makes him feel really good.
Yeah.
And even if it's a placebo, I mean, as you quite rightly say, if it's in the mind. But he goes, apparently, to this rehabilitation clinic in Hertfordshire, right?
Yeah.
Hertfordshire's a place he knows well because when he was married to Cheryl, they had a home there, and I think got married actually on a hotel on the A10.
Yeah, I think they did.
Halfway up.
That doesn't sound. I think it's probably slightly more romantic than the way you've described it.
Yeah, exactly.
A hotel somewhere on the A10.
But
like
anyway,
a travel lodge.
He's told people, I feel happy, energetic, and ready to play a football match when I've had one of my infusions of this stuff.
So what do they say is in Marmite? It's some kind of sort of vitamin-related booster.
It is a drug called niacin, which I wasn't aware of before, but it's the vitamin found in Marmite, and that's what, the old, their sales slogan is you either hate it or you love it. Apparently you do. Apparently this stuff either hits your positive taste buds or your negative taste buds. No, I'm not either.
So in order to take it into your body in a sort of form that he's taking it, presumably you'd have to like it.
Well, no, you don't taste it because it's infused into your blood system.
But I wonder if your body reacts in a different way depending whether you like it or not.
I don't know. I've never tried it myself. It is.
You've never tried it?
What, Marmite?
Yeah.
No.
Well, how do you know you don't like it?
Oh, I've tried like one, spread of it on a bit of toast.
So you have tried it?
We don't like
you
that.
have tried it.
Yeah, but I never tried the infusion, you idiot.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying.
You never had Marmite on toast.
No.
Well, don't start attacking me. I've just been very nice to you.
Once again, you're jumping down my throat and I'm not having it. Anyway.
Is it warm enough in here for you, by the way? I have to take my jumper off.
No, I do need a bit of warmth because, can I tell you...
Why don't you wear a sweater?
No, can I tell you, funny enough, I was with our accountants this morning, right?
Yeah.
And they've got very posh modern offices, and I had to ask them to switch the air conditioner off.
I'm hoping we're not subsidising them for that.
No, I hope not, no. And I had to ask them to switch the air conditioning off. And they said, why? I said, because I'm sorry, I've got a chest complaint. I said, I think it's...
Was he buying it?
Oh, yeah, no, he's very sympathetic.
Was he?
We're one of his best customers. Don't worry about that, the amount of business we take there. But anyway, I said, and it's like cutting across my vocal cords, the cold.
Yeah.
He said, it's not cold. I said, it is cold for me. Now switch it off, will you? And then I insisted on turning the temperature up by 3 degrees in the office and everything well after that. The other thing is I have to eat permanently. Drink. Yeah. Permanent.
Well, you've been drinking permanently all your life.
Permanent cups of hot tea.
Really?
Otherwise, I fear that my...
That's going to keep you awake, though, if you take too much tea in.
My vocal cords will swell.
Really?
And, that would be a disaster if I couldn't speak.
That would be.
Getting back to...
a nightmare.
Getting back to the Gazza thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, these infusions... Is
that the most important story you've got for us?
I think it's fascinating because it's all been put together by a guy called John Gillan, who is himself an alcoholic.
Is he?
Well, recovering alcoholic.
Yeah.
But you're always an alcoholic. It's like...
Well, that's the problem. I mean, what I was going to say is, if Gazza says it makes him feel great, the main reason that alcoholics drink alcohol is because it makes them feel better.
That's true.
Unfortunately.
Excuse me. Now,
you're going to be all right.
He's a former jockey, John Gillan.
Okay.
Gillan.
Gillan. Is it Gillan or Gallen?
It's Gillan.
Gallen.
He's also a Scotsman.
Right.
And he brought this idea to this country from the United States.
Uh-huh.
And he's
not
now,
his idea, then?
He's now set up what's called the Bionad. That's B-I-O-N. Bionad Clinic in Harley Street.
Oh, yeah.
And he has these rehab centres around the country.
Uh-huh.
But he says NAD Plus helps the body process. NAD being that drug I told you about.
Yeah.
What's it, Niacin or something?
I thought you said it was niacin.
Niacin, that's right. Niacin,
so why isn't it bio-nice?
I don't know. It's NAD Plus. He said it restores normal brain chemistry. It means the cravings for alcohol are greatly reduced in most alcoholics. And, by the way, this is not new. He's picked this up from a guy called Bill Wilson. And Bill Wilson...
When you say he's picked it up, you mean he's nicked it?
Well, it looks like it, because Bill Wilson was a founder of Alcoholics Anonymous 50 years ago.
Oh, OK.
But
it says here, I'm looking at Bionad's alcohol detox services, right?
Oh, OK,
As part of our detox programme,
right.
Bionad offers executive accommodation, subject to availability, right in the heart of the medical area of London's Harley Street.
Yes.
Patients are welcome to bring a family member. The unique Bionad alcohol detox programme is the only programme in Europe to offer all sorts of other benefits that they talk about. They say it's affordable.
Yeah.
I wonder how much it is.
I don't know, but...
I bet it costs you a few bob.
Senior nutritionist Dean Marber asked about the claims for NAD Plus, said, well, the idea that it's going to make you feel better, that's very woolly, isn't it? I have an ongoing concern about individual nutrients being injected into the bloodstream rather than going through the digestive process.
Yeah, right.
I worry about the long-term consequences. So, once again, it's one of these very controversial sort of, off-the-wall type... I suppose when you're Paul Gascoigne and you've been searching all your life for some
Well, I mean,
release.
it's a life and death decision for him.
Yeah. Some release from the horrors of chronic alcoholism and the torture that you go through not drinking and the torture you go through when you're in the in the folds of drink and all that. I suppose you try anything.
Yeah.
And if it makes him feel better, then we should all say yes. Let's applaud it and say good old Gazza.
Yeah.
Let's hope it works for you.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yes.
I can't find any record of how much it costs here.
Yeah, well, it probably costs quite a lot.
But it says a major concern for clients undergoing withdrawal from alcohol is both the discomfort experienced and the risk of seizures.
Yeah, well, seizures
Clients
is right.
undergoing NAD-assisted withdrawal have reported an approximately 80% reduction in symptoms compared with cold turkey.
Yeah, well, that's true, because cold turkey is cutting the thing off altogether, which means that body has to cope without the support it would get from alcohol.
Yeah.
But a lot of these things are like withdrawal rather than cold turkey, aren't they?
That's right.
So, for instance,
the neurotransmitters.
Yeah, in your
that
case,
are used to it.
In your case, if you wanted to give up drink altogether, it'd take you
I don't
about
want
3 months to suddenly go down
I don't
from
want to.
2 bottles of champagne a day
I
to
don't drink
one,
2 bottles of
then
champagne
half
a day.
a bottle, then quarter of a bottle.
No.
You'd have to work it out
I
like that.
I don't drink 2 bottles of champagne.
No, but you would if you could afford it. It's
No, I
just
would.
the fact
No, I
that it
can
costs
afford it, but I don't.
No,
I don't-
£75 a bottle, £150 a day.
No, I don't drink.
That means you would be spending
No,
£1,000 a week on
You're just telling lies now.
champagne. I'm
You're
not
just telling lies.
I'm not.
When was the last day I had 2 bottles of champagne at £75? Tell me.
I'm not saying you
You
have.
don't know, do you?
But you just said you would love to have 2 bottles
No,
of
I didn't.
champagne a day.
No, I didn't.
You said you could afford it.
Well, I can afford it.
Well, £1,000 a week
Well, why
on
not?
champagne?
Yeah,
You're
if I
mad.
wanted to.
You're mad.
But
Your
I don't-
children wouldn't have any shoes on their feet.
Yeah, they would.
Your car wouldn't have
I
any
can afford
tyres on
shoes
its
as well.
wheels.
I can afford tyres on my car. The point is that I don't do that. I don't live like that. I don't drink every day. You can't tell me the last time you didn't have a drink.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
This is Talk Sport. Porky Parry may have to be sedated and possibly put down during the course of this show. Please do not be alarmed.
Tonight from 7, massive Champions League football.
Full match commentary of Barcelona versus Arsenal.
Live on Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the 2 mics. We've got loads coming up. Of course, it's Ask Porky a little bit later on, so if you want to get a question answered or a problem solved...
I'm here to help.
He is here to help, even
though I need
he's
help.
feeling terrible himself.
I need help myself, but I'm not. I'm being stoic.
Well, I'm sorry, Dee doesn't buy the act. He says, the sick act, complete with feel sorry for me voice, only lasted 2 minutes. The bloke's a shyster. How about that?
Well, how can I react to that?
Oh,
What can I
Horatio
say?
says he sounds genuinely sick, a desperately ill man.
Thank you. At least a bit of sympathy.
Irish one likes my suggestion
Excuse
that
me.
you might have to be sedated or possibly put down.
Yeah.
Don't be alarmed. Classic 2 mics.
Yes.
Zach says, don't listen to people who are being cruel. You are the man of the people. Get well soon.
Thank you.
You absolute hero.
Thank you.
Is this guy for real?
Thank you. That's what I like. Thank you very much indeed.
Now,
Yes,
do you want to know the result of winners and losers?
Well, you see, something's clearly going on here. Such a ridiculously unbalanced result.
Why?
I stopped looking at it
Well,
at
I'll tell you what's
6 o'clock
interesting.
this morning.
I'll tell you what's interesting. You know how last week you and your Porky tribe,
Yes.
with their multiple accounts that they've admitted to having,
I didn't know that.
brought in somewhere in the region of 2,100 votes, one
Yes.
of the biggest votes of all time.
Yes.
This week, 1,449 votes, which is basically what it normally would be.
Yes.
I don't know where those other 600 votes have gone.
No.
I don't know where they came from, but they were clearly gerrymandered voters who don't vote on a regular basis. And as a result of it being a fair ballot, no supplementary excessive voting has taken place. And the results are as follows. 58% to me, 42% to you.
See, that's rubbish.
So
that.
it's a
That can't be
resounding
true.
victory.
That can't be true.
There
That
it
can't
is.
be true.
It's
No,
there.
No, it can't be.
It's there.
I-
It's now 6.5 to 4.5 to me.
If that happened in a general election, there'd have to be a public inquiry as
Why?
to how it went wrong.
Why?
Well, there's never been such a huge
Well, hang
gap
on.
like that.
You nominated
It's
Matt
ridiculous.
LeBlanc, right,
Yeah.
as the man who was disgraced for driving a car around the cenotaph.
Yeah.
Turned out he wasn't driving.
Yeah, but he
You
was in the
nominated-
car. He was in the car.
You nominated a Cheltenham racehorse owner
Yes.
who was going to break the bookies, which
Yes.
he didn't do.
Yes.
And you also got the number of races wrong,
No, I didn't.
right?
No.
You did. You said there were 5 races.
I
There
said
were
there
7.
were at least 5. At least 5.
Well, there are 7.
Yeah, I know
Right?
that. I know that.
So there was a whole host of reasons why people didn't vote for you. You also put Gareth Barry
Yes.
somewhere in the winners' circle,
Yeah, he was.
even though he was red carded and sent off.
Yeah, but he was the man who said no, Costa didn't bite me, so he saved his life. Now, listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, go on.
It's come to my attention that old Conte, who is the Italian national team manager.
Yes.
Who
Soon
stood
to be not
down.
the national team
Yeah,
manager.
stood down. Now, the world of football media went slightly mad, in my view, today, because the minute he stepped down, there was an assumption that he's going to be the new Chelsea manager.
And that he was like coming straight away or something.
And I'm desperately searching through all my media, paraphernalia, trying to find the announcement from Chelsea that I've clearly missed.
Right.
Because I didn't realise he'd been appointed.
Right.
Only to find out he hasn't actually been appointed.
Right.
It's an assumption.
Yes.
But why?
Unless it emerges like the Manchester City Pep Guardiola scenario,
yes.
that suddenly somebody... See, the difference, I suppose, is that Gus Hiddink is aware that he's only there for the end of the season.
Oh, he's a temporary manager,
So he's not going to worry about whether he's going to be displaced, whereas I think Pellegrini got to the point where he thought, well, this is now really getting to me, so I'm just going to come out and announce it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, old Gus Hiddink realises he's the interim manager, an expression that Rafa Benitez, excuse me, objected to. Now,
what do you make of Marina Granovskaya, by the way?
Well, excuse me, I'd like to explain this first, okay? Before you jump subjects.
It's the same subject.
No, it's not.
Well, she happens to be the director of Chelsea.
Yes, I know that.
Well, then we're talking about homecoming to Chelsea.
Yeah, I know, but
how's it a different subject?
Because I'm going to tell you what the point is I'm trying to make. If you just shut up for a minute, see?
All right.
So he leaves. Now, then I'm then listening.
So rude.
I'm then listening to our colleague Ray Wilkins, okay?
Yeah.
And I get on very well with Ray and
Ray of Arabia.
As he used to be known when he's working out in Jordan.
Top man is Ray.
Oh, utterly top man, and a top pundit. And we did a show actually at the Sports Bar and Grill quite recently, Ray and I. Yeah, and I've chatted to him about all sorts of things.
When was
Sorry,
that? When was that?
It was with Mr. Brazil. I don't know, about a month ago, something like that.
A month ago?
Yeah, about that. Yeah. Anyway, the point.
I don't remember you doing that. I don't remember you mentioning it.
Well, sorry, are you my minder? Do you have to know every single thing I do every day?
Well, we are the two mics. I mean, generally speaking, we do things together.
Yeah, and occasionally people just want one mic, okay? And usually the one is me.
Really?
All right?
Is that right?
So just get used to it, all right? Now then.
Feeling better now, are you?
What?
You're feeling better?
Now then, what happens is, so I listened to Ray today, and Ray has asked, do you think Conte will come to Chelsea?
It's very hot in here.
Well, it's got to be to save my vocal cords.
Yeah, so you're willing to make me suffer in order to make yourself feel better?
Well, you've got to, sacrifice it for our millions of listeners, because if my voice goes and I croak it, croak my voice, and the vocal cords go...
That'll be the end of the two mics then.
Well, it would be for tonight, certainly. Now then, what I was going to say is, so what Ray says is, he said... Conte, he said, well, he's got a great track record as a club manager of Juventus, and he's got a great got a great international record.
Uh-huh.
He said, but he can't speak English, so I don't know if it would work. So the interviewer said to him, why? He said, well, Gianluca Vialli spoke very good English. He said, but even he couldn't get his point of view over to his players when he got angry. He couldn't think angry in English, and it never works. And
well, he was a pretty good manager for Chelsea, wasn't he, Vialli?
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good, yeah. So, now, I've been saying this for years. Why on earth did we ever appoint Fabio Capello? He couldn't speak a word of English.
Yeah, well, hang on. We've now appointed Roy Hodgson, who's not any better, and he speaks pretty good English.
Yeah, but
so your argument actually is completely flawed.
No, it's not, because what I'm saying is, I went to a lunch very early on when Fabio Capello arrived here, and I tried to speak to him in broken English,
Yeah, what did you say?
Hello. Capello, and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And he just looks at you like you're dumb.
Capello.
Well, you know what I mean. I'm saying.
What did you say? Hello, Parry.
No. But the point of my story is,
what is the point of your
you
story?
can't work in this country if you don't speak English. Now.
Well, I think that
somebody was talking about Pochettino earlier.
It's not black and white, is it?
Well, it's not black and white. Pochettino could speak English when he came to this country. And at Southampton, he spoke English. He spoke English to his players, to the club officials, and all that kind of stuff. Excuse me.
Do you want me to just have a couple of tweets ready to read out?
No. The only thing he wouldn't do in English were the press conferences, because he said he didn't want to be misinterpreted, either domestically in this country or internationally. And so Southampton went along with that. However...
Well, was it not also because he was more comfortable answering questions in his native tongue?
No. He a little bit. He was more comfortable answering native tongue.
Well,
but,
so that's a yes.
But basically, he didn't want to be misinterpreted. So,
well, that's fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, when he went to Spurs, he was told by Mr. Levy, who appointed him, you're going to have to do your press conference in English.
Yeah.
The manager of Spurs speaks English. We're an English club.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
For God's sake.
So hang on. So he said, OK, fine. So what I'm saying is, The idea that Pochettino came to this country unable to speak English is nonsense. He came to this country able to speak English, but chose to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Until he went to a club that said, no, you will now speak in English, please. And he said, OK. You don't learn English, as good as he speaks in a couple of months.
No, of course.
Between leaving Southampton and going to Spurs.
But you're making an argument, it would seem.
Yeah.
Well, Ray Wilkins is making an argument that actually that may not be good enough either. Because
it won't work for Conte if he doesn't speak English.
No,
that's the point I'm making.
No, that's not the point you're making, because you also said that one of the reasons that there was a problem for Gianluca Vialli is that he couldn't express anger or any other major emotion except in his own tongue.
Yes.
So what you're saying is that anyone who's actually not English is not going to be a success in this country, which is plainly bunkum.
No.
Because you can look at any number of very successful foreign managers, like Rafa Benitez, like Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, they can express anger in English.
Like Arsene Wenger.
They can express
how
anger
do you know
in English.
they can?
Well, because they can, because they're very successful and they've done it. Gianluca Vialli, did he win the FA Cup for Chelsea? I think he did.
I think he did. He certainly scored that goal, didn't he? He certainly scored that goal when he was playing.
Was he player manager? Was he player manager?
No, he wasn't player manager. No, but he's famous for scoring a goal in the FA Cup final.
Yeah, of course he is. Yeah, but the only point I'm making is that
I think he's just sounding like a little Englander.
No, I'm not a little Englander. No.
Englander.
If you can't speak English in this country...
What about Roberto Martinez?
Roberto Martinez speaks utterly perfect English.
Does he?
Perfect English.
Does he ever express anger in English?
Yes, he does, indeed.
Does he?
Yes, he does, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I happen to know that, actually, but he does, yes. And you've got to remember, he's...
So what you're saying, it's not about what kind of English you speak, or whether you speak English. It's about the number of emotions you can express in English.
Yes, and your thought pattern in English.
Really?
If you can... I mean, my Latin teacher used to say to me,
Your Latin teacher?
Yes.
What was his name?
His name was Doggy Licence. And,
Doggy Licence?
Yeah. Well, his name was David George Licence, DG Licence, so we used to call him Doggy Licence.
Oh, right,
so that was a bit of a joke, a schoolboy joke. You know
not
what
very
I mean?
funny.
No, it's not very funny, I agree, but that's what schoolboys do. And he used to say, Parry, until you can think in Latin and appreciate the sort of jokes I tell in after-dinner speeches in Latin, you're not a scholar.
Yes, I think he's probably right about that.
I think he was right, yeah.
Jamie says this, has Porky been poisoned by polonium? Even the Russians are fed up with him.
That's a bit harsh. Actually, I'm going to tell you a story about poison during the course of this show.
Good. Are you going to take some?
No, I've got a great poison story, though.
Excellent.
I've read a book on it.
All right.
I've read a book about poison.
Oh, well done.
Horrific.
All right, well, just look at the time for a moment, and this is...
People used to have children just so they could poison them.
What? This is Talk Sport.
UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport.
Come on!
Tonight from 7. Arsene Wenger's men take on Mission Impossible.
Oh, my word!
Full match commentary of Barcelona versus Arsenal.
And Olivier Giroud flicks the first goal home for Arsenal.
UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport with Direct Line Van Insurance. For de facto 5-star rated van insurance, search Direct Line Van.
Bet on any Cheltenham Festival race with 5 or more runners online or on your mobile. And if your horse finishes second, William Hill give you your money back as a free bet. Get money back second online or on mobile with William Hill. Qualifying bets include win or each way single bets placed day of race. Max refund £25 per customer per race. Free bet stake not included in winnings. T's and C's apply, over 18s only. When the fun stops, stop.
TalkSport 2, The Prodigal Son, is on the air. It's so new, you'll need to retune your DAB radio to receive it. Find out how at TalkSport.com/retune. Coming up today on TalkSport 2, live World 2020 cricket.
This morning from 9, hear full commentary of Pakistan versus Bangladesh.
Ball and he's bowling.
Followed by England versus the West Indies from 2.
Swing and it's gone.
From 7, live Champions League football.
Bayern Munich versus Juventus.
And there is the goal. Oh, what a finish.
From 10, ATP World Tour Master Series Tennis.
Hear all the action from Indian Wells as the world's best tennis players go head-to-head.
Nadal's got it back with the forehands away.
TalkSport 2, The Prodigal Son, is on the air. Online and on DAB, because sport never stops.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. It is Ask Porky coming up a bit later. Poison running through. Maybe you have been poisoned. How about this from Clive, who's on your side? He says, what a man of the people, getting out of your deathbed so you don't let the people or IROMG down.
That is right.
Ian says, well done, Porky, for working in your poor health. Old MG should have more respect for your selfless commitment.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Good.
Now, Carol, who's a Manchester City fan, has got an issue with me saying that they played a rather limp performance.
Well,
I'm afraid it was limp. She says, limp, unconvincing. Do you expect us to go gung-ho when we've lost our two best centre-backs? We got the job done, is all that matters. Yeah, but it's still a limp performance. I mean, I don't dispute the fact you got the job done. I don't dispute the fact that it's great that Manchester City have reached the quarter-finals of the Champions League.
Exactly.
But Vincent Kompany's now out for what is considered to be at least three-quarters of the rest of the season.
Wow.
So presumably out against United at the weekend, out for the next round of the Champions League. So, I mean, you know...
Bit of bad news, that.
It is a massive piece of bad news for Manchester City fans, I would expect. But, you know, Manchester City fans sometimes get a little bit, shall we say, touchy about you criticising their side.
Yes.
And, you know, I think if you're going to be in the Champions League, you might as well play Champions League football and make it look as attractive as you can.
I totally agree with you. Now, whilst I was in my deathbed today, I managed to have a look at some of the books that people sent me. One of them was called The Secret Poisoner. It's fantastic. Did you know the Victorians were dreadful poisoners? They used to go around poisoning each other all the time.
Right.
And, in fact...
just because they wanted to make their lives miserable, or they wanted to kill them?
Well, poison was so available. There were no regulations or rules. So things like strychnine, you know, and what's that other one? Arsenic. They're available.
But, I mean, were they poisoning them, as I say, to kill them, or were they just trying to make their lives miserable? Well, you can poison somebody kind of over time.
Both, really. Both, you know, sort of disaffected servants in houses who thought they'd been treated badly by their employers would go around sprinkling strychnine in the salt and all this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But in one particular fiddle, I suppose you'd call it, which was shocking, was that people would deliberately have babies, right, you know, because there was not much like contraception those days, you know what I mean?
Right.
And, excuse me, and then as they were born, they were registered with what was called burial clubs, OK? And this was a state-funded thing to make sure that, you know, people... at least got a pauper's funeral when they died and all this kind of stuff, right?
Right. So it was like a sort of co-op funeral kind of scenario.
Yeah, that sort of thing, right? But then they deliberately poisoned the children, right, by putting strychnine in the butter, and the children would eat it and then die.
Right.
And then they got...
Could they afford butter, though?
Well, they probably went and stole it somewhere or something. But then they if they were a fully paid-up member of the what they used to call the burial club, right... You got £3, 8 shillings and sixpence if your child died.
Right.
And then you didn't bother spending that on the funeral. You whipped away with it and bought gin and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
what's this got to do with poisoning?
Well, because that's what I... excuse me. That's what I discovered in my book, The Secret Poisoner.
Yeah.
This is what they used to do.
Right. Is it about a particular guy, then?
Hey?
Is it about a particular secret poisoner?
No, this was a practice that used to go on.
Right.
Now, this meant there was a mass infanticide going around in Victorian times. People going around...
Oh, what, so they could get the money?
Yeah, that's
really?
exactly what I've just been telling you. Why didn't you pick up? I mean, are you
because
stupid?
the way you've explained it is completely and utterly sort of impossible to permeate.
No. People...
Why don't you just come out and say that?
It says the
Do you know that in Victorian times, people used to kill their own children because they could extract a payment from the government, which they would then spend on themselves in drink?
That's exactly what I did say.
Well, that's what I just said.
Now, the Victorians,
it
says, were as prolific poisoners as they were builders of railways and empires. It was the great age of murder, most calculated. Arsenic, laudanum, prussic acid and strychnine were easily obtained as shoe polish.
How did they afford that, though? If they couldn't afford to eat?
Well, it was so cheap.
Well, hang on. You said they couldn't afford to eat. Who's written this book?
What do you mean who's written it?
Who's written it?
A woman called Linda Statman.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it says...
Statman?
Eh?
Statman.
Statman, as in Stato. Yeah? Statman, right.
Statman.
So it says, now then... why did they poison?
I feel quite unwell.
Hang on.
I'm so hot now.
Life was... Don't worry about that. That's necessary.
I'm not worried about
Keep my vocal cords in one piece. Right, life was hard and cheap. Age-old motives of greed, passion and spite led men and women to the chemist. Sex in all its forms drove people to murder. Even sex with horses. Yeah, one servant tried to poison his employee with nitric acid after she disturbed him in a certain situation in the stable. With a oh dear me, this is terrible. Sorry, this is a family show.
You can take a horse to water,
what?
But you can't do that to it in a stable.
It says lack of contraception Stalked.
Why do you need contraception for a horse?
Oh, you idiot! This is a new chapter. Lack of contraception.
It's really hot in here.
Stalked women, many trapped in violent marriages. 3 clear patterns emerged. Okay.
Right.
Most commonly,
Who is this woman, Statman?
Yeah. Most commonly, that of the servant with a grudge.
Yeah.
As in the case.
Hang on. I thought you said they were all poor. Now you're talking about servants.
Well, I said the servants who had a grudge against their employers.
No, you said they didn't have any money, so they killed their own children so they could collect money from the state.
Just listen, will you? Eliza Fenning was hanged, although she killed nobody, because she served poisoned dumplings after her mistress caught her in a state of undress near a male employee.
Not with a horse.
Doubts always persisted about her conviction. Lovers seeking to remove an inconvenient spouse, 26-year-old Martha Sharp, infatuated with a married comedian. Why should you infatuate a comedian? I suppose you would be.
This is absolute balderdash you're coming out with.
Hang on. She saw this comedian perform at the London Pavilion in 1850.
Oh, yeah.
He refused to meet her, so she baked his wife...
Baked his wife?
Yeah, baked his wife a jam tart.
I thought you meant she baked his wife.
No.
That's in a big oven.
No, she baked his wife a jam tart containing a layer of crushed Cantharides beetles, which was a highly irritant poison.
I'm sure it was.
But also a rumoured aphrodisiac. Martha was charged with attempted murder, but she got away with it.
Right.
Seriously.
Is there any point to any of this?
Yes. Many were poisoned for illicit gain. William Palmer was a dissolute surgeon addicted to horse racing.
References to horses in this.
Yeah. He ran up vast debts, and after he'd poisoned his wife undetected and ripped through her large life insurance policy, he then preyed on a rich racing associate, eventually killing him with strychnine.
Really?
Forensic scientists, struggling in the infancy of toxicology, disagreed at his trial in 1856.
I think that was the main reason as well, because nobody could tell what you'd actually been poisoned with, could they?
I think that's right. He was hanged anyway.
Was he?
Yeah, he got hanged.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that it then?
Well, yeah, that's it.
Is that the end of your story?
Well, it's not actually. There's loads more, but we
I
haven't
don't
got
want to
time.
hear any more.
But it's a great story. I mean, really nasty,
but there's no
story.
kind of, as usual with your kind of historic references,
Yes.
there's no evidence that any of this stuff happened.
No, but there's a huge point
It's
to
a
it.
mad fantasy world of some woman called Statman.
In Victorian time, people went around poisoning each other all the time because they could. It's as simple as that, okay?
Okay, right. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah.
Dazza says, Porky saying foreign managers need to speak English when he can't pronounce words correctly.
Oh, yeah?
Hashtag Little Englander. Kojak says, amazing how Porky seems to find moments of strength and voice. Sounds fine to have a pop.
Yeah, well, you know, I have to raise the game, obviously, when I feel that the issues are not being presented clearly enough.
Is that right? Coming up next, we're going to be talking to Mark Donaldson from ESPN. We'll find out what he makes of Manchester City's poor, dismal performance and what he makes of Arsene Wenger's claim.
And Mr. Conte.
Basically, he built Arsenal all on his own. Yes, this is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
Oh, my word!
Fear, aggression, adrenaline, excitement.
Correct.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Wizard of the Dribble.
Make sure you're ready.
Talk Sport.
Sport, we are the two mics. It's Ask Porky coming up a little bit later on, of course. We will be talking to Mark Donaldson in a little while from ESPN.
Yes.
We've got lots to talk to him about. Champions League tonight,
Certainly
live on TalkSport. Barcelona against Arsenal. Last night, Manchester City, of course, were in action against Dynamo Kiev. Some Manchester City fans taking issue with me on the basis that, for some reason, they don't like the fact that I said their performance was a little bit limp.
Sure.
Let's talk to Mr. Donaldson and see what he thinks.
Indeed.
Mark, a very good morning to you.
Morning, gents. How are you both?
Very well indeed.
Pretty good, thank you.
I mean, I know that you can make as many arguments as you like and say that Manchester City did the job in Kiev, which of course they did, but they were pretty limp last night.
Difficult one, that, isn't it? Because what do? Do you push forward knowing that you're a better team than them? Bearing in mind they had the first leg not long after their season had kind of resumed, so they weren't at their best. Or do you sit back and just try and soak up the pressure? It was difficult because you practice, Monday, Tuesday, yesterday certainly, and the day before with Company in the lineup, with Otamendi in the lineup, and then the game plan's pretty much out the window after 5 or 10 minutes. Right. So I think any criticism of Manchester City is is maybe, I can understand it, but it's maybe a bit harsh. The bottom line is they're through, and as someone once said, there's no diagrams on a scorecard.
No, there's no diagrams, Mark, but there's a psychological battle to be waged when you get to this stage of a Champions League tournament, right? And the excuse me.
Would you like me to? Why don't you write the questions down and I'll ask them?
No, excuse me. What I'm saying is, Mark, is that the other clubs left in the tournament have got to know that you're up for it. They've got to know you've got an attitude. They've got to know you're going to be very difficult to beat. And City did not give any of that sort of impression to the other 7 clubs left in the tournament tonight. They kind of gave the impression they're going to be the best club to draw in the quarter-finals because they don't look like they've got the bottle.
Not sure about the bottle, but I agree with the rest of that. They're not good enough to win the Champions League. They're going to need Barcelona to draw Bayern Munich in the next round and not one of them out. And they're going to need to get a favourable draw.
Yes.
For example, Wolfsburg or something like that. But hey, you need a bit of luck in the Champions League. There's a lot of teams that aren't good enough to win the Champions League. Doesn't necessarily mean to say they're not going to win it. I'm not saying Manchester City will. I think it's between Barcelona and Bayern. But this is where you need a bit of luck with the draw as well, because if Bayern get Barcelona in the next round, then one of the 2 big boys is going out. So you need a bit of good fortune. But if I'm any one of the other coaches in that Champions League draw, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I'd take Man City. If I'm Benfica, I'd take Man City as well. And if you're Man City, you'd say, well, I watched a lot of the Atletico Madrid game against PSV. I'd take them right now as well. As long as you avoid Barcelona, Bayern, I wouldn't... Look, I'm not saying I wouldn't be frightened of Real Madrid, but they're not what they were. It's avoid Bayern and Barca. And if those 2 are drawn together, then for me, with one of them going out, it really opens the door up for someone who's probably not good enough to win it, but could make a hell of a run.
And also, one of the reasons that if you were a manager of another Champions League side wanting Manchester City is because of this injury to Vincent Kompany. I'm just looking at some stats here. Without Vincent Kompany in the Premier League this season, they've lost 6 games. With him, they've only lost 2. And more surprisingly, the goals conceded without Kompany, 25, and with him, only 6.
Yeah, and I think that's fascinating as well. It's similar to the whole, when Yaya Toure plays, Sergio Aguero seems to be a much better player. Not much better player, but he's got a much better goals ratio when Toure's in the team. Right. And look, I mean, Mangala at the back, alongside Demichelis, yes, please. I mean, Dynamo Kiev, if they'd had anything about them, if they were a much better side than they actually are, Man City would probably be out. But that's not the way it is. I mean, City's. I don't think they'll win the Premier League. I think that was the final straw, final nail in their coffin at the weekend at Norwich. Right. And the Champions League's their only thing now. But without Kompany, certainly for the next round over the 2 legs, not for me.
No, I think you're absolutely right. What did you make of the other game last night, Atletico Madrid
really enjoyed it.
PSV? I mean, it went to penalties. It was quite dramatic. I mean, in some ways, it was the opposite, wasn't it?
I really enjoyed it, and I'll tell you why, because normally I'm doing PSV Ajax this weekend. I'm looking forward to that one. But normally PSV go with 4 at the back, and there was a bit of a surprise from Philippe Cocu. He went 5 at the back, or 3 at the back. It was like a 3-5-2 with 5 of them when they were defending. And it really surprised Diego Simeone and Atleti, because I think we all did. We all thought that, the job was done by Atleti in the first leg. It was 0-0. They should have won it. They'll win comfortably the home leg. But they didn't, because PSV had a go. Now, I was thinking about this earlier. PSV in the round of 16 back in the day wasn't a surprise, but these days it's certainly a surprise. But a lot of that was to do with the fact that UEFA tweaked. Remember, we spoke about it. They tweaked the whole pot system for the draw, and PSV were in pot 1. They were one of the top seeds. Because if you remember, Arsenal always used to be in that pot 1 because of their excellent coefficient, but UEFA changed it at the start of the season prior to the draw to say unless you win your league, you cannot be in pot 1. PSV have taken full advantage.
Well, what do you think about the fact that the traditional English clubs are not going to be in the Champions League next season? Certainly Chelsea aren't going to be there. Probably Manchester United aren't going to be there. How is that affecting the whole picture of the Champions League from the perspective of the rest of Europe? Because they want our big clubs there. They need the revenues. They need the TV audiences.
Well, you're still going to get the TV revenues, irrespective of whether it's Leicester, Chelsea, or whatever. I think it's refreshing. Now, I don't know about you guys, but at times, I mean, you look at some of these fixtures and you think, you know what? I'm bored of this. Roma against Real Madrid, it's pretty much the same. I mean, Chelsea against Paris Saint-Germain, it's kind of lost its lustre because they've been paired together so often in the last few seasons. Wolfsburg against Ghent, people were saying, that's not much of a tie. Yeah, but it's a story. It's like Leicester winning the Premier League. So if Leicester get to the Champions League, which I'm sure they will, and they'll be in the group stage, I think that's fantastic. I think it's a great story. It's
sorry, Mark, if you don't mind me saying, if the rest of Europe are looking upon Leicester the way I look upon Ghent, it's a non-starter. Ghent might as well be Timbuktu to me. It might as well be Oshkosh.
Well, that's because geography's not your strong point.
No, geography is my very strong point. I mean, it might as well be Ulaanbaatar United, as far as I'm concerned, because it means nothing.
Well, Everton won't be in there, will they? That's one thing we know.
Well, I hope Everton are not in there.
Porky, is it not the same every year, though? Do we not get bored? It's Manchester United, it's Chelsea, it's Arsenal, it's whoever.
Well, to
it's a bit boring, is it not? Surely it's time for someone like Leicester or another team to freshen up a tournament that I feel
agree.
Is
No. I tell you what I think the problem is.
I agree with Mark. I think Leicester in the Champions League will be a breath of fresh air.
No, I think the problem is not the teams regularly seeing each other. It's that there's too many teams in the Champions League each season.
I agree with that. And by the way, it'll never happen. I'd love it to go back to the whole
totally agree.
Straight into the hat, whoever gets whoever.
Totally agree.
It's over two legs. Yeah. But that's not the way it's going to be, unfortunately. Yeah. So with the system that we have right now, I'm all for different teams because otherwise, you know what? I think it's boring.
Now, what are you hearing about Conte over there at ESPN? Because obviously a lot of excitement here when he resigned and said, well, I mean, we knew he was going to do it anyway. That he's going to leave Italy at the end of the Euros. Are you hearing anything newer about him coming to Chelsea?
I'm pretty much hearing it's a done deal. It will not be announced just yet. I mean, there's obviously the issues. I mean, Mourinho's come out and kind of given this cryptic thing that, I've got a new club, but I'm not telling anybody. And I think the same's about Conte as well. We've seen what's happened at Manchester City with the changing of the guard midway through a season and how it's kind of affected them. So as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty much a done deal that he'll be the next Chelsea boss, and a lot of the guys at ESPN are hearing exactly the same. Yeah. Interesting appointment. He
doesn't speak English. Doesn't speak English.
Well, I've actually got some disputing tweets coming in about that, saying that he's given press conferences in English before.
Really? Yeah. Well, he doesn't speak good English anyway. I think that's always a mistake.
Well, you don't speak good English either, but you managed to do all right.
I speak perfect English. I've got an English A-level, and I studied English at university.
I've got an English A-level.
Yes.
Is that the best you can do?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
God.
I'm not sure about the appointment. Again, I don't want to pour water over it before it's even taken place. But I read somewhere on Twitter today, and I think just as vital an appointment could be a kind of the appointment of a star maker, someone that's going to identify talent as well. Not who's going to identify guys for Antonio Conte to sign for Chelsea, because I think he'll know who he'll want to bring in. I'd love to see Paul Pogba in that Chelsea lineup, by the way, alongside N'Golo Kante. That's just throwing that one in from Leicester. But I think the appointment of this kind of star maker, someone who's going to go and kind of get some of the young talent. There's a lad from Roma, a 19-year-old Nigerian that Arsenal have been linked with. I think you'll be seeing, if Chelsea get this guy, I'm not 100% sure of his name. I read it on Twitter earlier. If they get a guy like that, then I think you'll be looking at some of the best young talent coming to Chelsea. The problem is, and the bottom line is as well, two-part. One, what's happened to the young English kids coming through? And two, what's the latest count? Is it 30 players they've got out on loan? So, I mean, you can't keep doing this if you're Chelsea, because you can't just cherry-pick the best ones.
No, I think they're going to have to change their policy altogether.
I agree.
Mark, thanks very much indeed. Mark Donaldson there. Conte and Kante in the same team would be a bit difficult, wouldn't it?
Certainly would.
It'd be a bit like Conte Kinte. What was his name? The guy
Conte Kinte.
And Alex Haley's Roots.
That's right,
that was a great show.
My name is Conte Kinte.
How about this from Nathan in Maidstone?
Right.
If MG thinks he's a champagne expert due to his overindulgence in the drink, which again is a lie perpetuated by your good self, I wonder if he realises that the correct way to store champagne is to keep the bottles horizontally to keep the corks moist. I did know that, actually. And champagne also has to be stored at 55 degrees Fahrenheit, room temperature, with 70% humidity. Cannot keep it any warmer due to the champagne being subject to light poisoning.
Yes.
So, funnily enough, I went to the Calves in Reims. I don't know if you've ever been there. Have you been there? The Calves.
The Calves?
The Calves, yeah.
Well, like Calves?
No. The calves, as in the caves. They call them calves.
Oh, okay, caves.
That's where they make the champagne.
We'll just call them caves, yeah, go on.
Well, no, they're called calves.
Right.
And it's amazing. What I didn't know was that they drop a little bit of a sort of a liqueur into the champagne during the process of making it.
Right.
Did you know that?
Why?
Because that's part of the process of making it.
Okay, yeah.
And it was a wonder. We just went on a tour of how they make champagne. It was on my honeymoon, actually.
Really?
I went there.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And the answer, Nathan, is to whether you keep it in 55-degree Fahrenheit room temperature. I mean, you can be very anorak-like about it, and you can have a wine cellar and all of that. I don't have a wine cellar.
Yes.
Because, to be honest, I don't keep champagne long enough to worry about how it's going to be stored.
No, of course you don't.
I don't.
You stuff it down your throat.
I don't hoard it, and I don't drink it every day. Yeah. I went out for a very nice lunch, a congratulatory lunch for my daughter today, and we had one bottle of wine. Didn't have any champagne.
Oh yeah, what are you congratulating and each other on?
She's just got her MA.
Oh, what in
arts? She's now an MA of arts.
So is she really?
Yeah, she is. Yeah. So I'm very proud of her.
She's got the name. She's got the initials MA after her name.
Well, she could do that, but she's not that sort of pompous person.
That's fantastic.
So she has, but she's got a certificate.
Oh.
Unlike you with your A-level English.
I've got a certificate.
Huh?
I've got certificates.
Have you?
Yeah.
Why don't you ever want to bring them in?
Excuse me, I've got certificates for all 14 of my O-levels that I passed.
14?
14.
Well, I've asked you before to bring them in.
Well, I mean, I don't want to boast about it. That's
really?
All. I just told you, as in passing.
14 O-levels?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics.
UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport.
What a goal!
Tonight from 7.
Arsene Wenger's men take on Mission Impossible.
Unbelievable.
Full match commentary of Barcelona versus Arsenal.
It's a goal! What a response from Arsene Wenger's team.
With a full-on post-match phone-in after all the action.
Perfect timing!
UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Mark says this: I noticed Porky's perked up as soon as he started talking about accountants and money. # man of the people. And here's one from one of your fellow sufferers in Belfast,
yes,
John.
yes.
He says, Porky, I have dilated cardiomyopathy. I picked up flu on Saturday night and I've been in bed ever since. Just starting to come round now. A flu or chest infection is our worst nightmare.
Yeah.
The heart just can't cope.
Yeah,
Get well soon. Don't listen to old MG.
Thank you very much. That's exactly what I've got, dilated cardiomyopathy. And when you get a cold like this, and it is more than a cold, it's flu, because I go so lightheaded, because the heart can't cope with pushing the blood around your system with the oxygen in it and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Interested in you moaning and groaning. If you come in right and you're not too sick to work, then nobody's interested in you moaning and groaning on about it.
Well, I just grit my teeth and get on with it.
Yeah, thank goodness for that.
Stoic is my middle name.
John says this. Porky has 14 O-levels. What subjects were they in? A bronze swimming certificate doesn't count as an O-level.
No.
So why don't you give us the subjects then?
Oh, we're not going to go listing through all those.
Why not?
Well, because it's too time-consuming.
Well, because there aren't. We've done this before. I don't think you can name 14
they
subjects.
Are. Of course you can. Listen, I want to talk to you about the fact that we're going to Cheltenham on Friday.
We
right?
are. Well, I hope we are, because I want you to be tip-top.
Well, as long as I'm better.
You cannot come in here to work on Thursday night, go home for a couple of hours kip, and then get on a train for 3 hours with me and a bottle of champagne.
I'm going to have to see how it goes.
If you're going to be miserable, I'm just going to dump you at whichever point you can be left at and enjoy myself.
Is that your attitude to all invalids and disabled people?
Yeah, but I'm not going to be dragging. I'm not going to drag you around,
really?
Because you're not feeling well enough to be able to do the things I can do.
Anyway, what I wanted to say is that the front page of a tabloid newspaper tomorrow, in fact, more than one paper has highlighted it, It is disgusting. The lads on the last show mentioned it a bit. Footballers brought shame to the Cheltenham Festival yesterday by tossing glasses of urine from an executive box.
That's scarcely this, isn't it?
MK Dons star Samir Carruthers, sounds like a nice boy, aged 22, urinated in full view of racegoers into a drinks glass before the contents were tipped over the balcony.
Well, hopefully not over people, though.
Well, it's not explained. A punter said they should be banned from the course and fined for indecent exposure. Yeah. And then we go into more detail about the story inside the paper. And shamed MK Don star Samir Carruthers urinates into a beer glass before it is emptied over a balcony as well. Midfield wearing a cap and waistcoat was egged on by Bristol City star Luke Ayling and a pal who also relieved himself in full view of punters.
What's wrong with these people?
I don't know, but it is so disgusting. I hope he gets banned for life because, as you just posed the question, if you were below that balcony and you're being showered in somebody else's urine, not only is it the most disgusting and uncivilised behaviour, it's also a terrible health threat, of course. Right. It's a threat to public health, and it illustrates the fact that you are an animal, and animals are not supposed to be positioned in executive boxes at one of the world's great sporting festivals.
No, absolutely shocking.
Filthy, disgusting, uncivilised little bums like this guy should definitely be banned for life.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And hopefully there won't be any of that sort of behaviour when we're there on Friday. We will be on Hawksby and Jacobs, of course, at some point in the afternoon as well.
That's right.
There's also a further, shall we say, scandalous thing going on down there where there's a couple of girls pictured in the Daily Mail.
Well, that's
reality
almost
TV stars flashing their breasts in a £500 box.
I mean, that is disgusting as
this
well,
is
honestly.
Love Island TV winner Jessica Hayes and model Katie Salmon.
Yeah.
I must say I haven't heard of either of them.
I've not heard of either of them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know them if I fell over them, right? And I really couldn't care less about, how they make their living. Good luck to them for doing whatever they want to do.
Why
That's
is
fine.
it that in every
why do they have to go around exposing their naked flesh?
But why is it in every avenue of what seems to be now what we loosely call our culture?
Yes.
There is all sorts of vulgarity on display from people with more money than sense.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I have no idea.
Why don't people know how to behave?
What I don't get about this guy who's Carruthers, who's there's quite a posh name, Carruthers, as well, isn't it, for a filthy little man who thinks urinating in public and tipping the contents of his
you can't judge people by their names, can you?
Into the air is funny.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Right.
Do you know what he looks like? He looks like a Peaky Blinder.
He does a bit. Because he's just wearing that flat cap.
Yeah, he's wearing a waistcoat and a flat cap, and he's standing there. And he's trying to be a big guy. In fact, he's a pathetic little runt.
Yeah.
And I do hope that the authorities get hold of him and make it clear to him.
Well, you wonder what the MK Dons management will have to say about
it. You'd have to sack him, wouldn't you? You don't want a filthy, disgusting, uncivilised little, oik like that on your books, do you?
I wouldn't have thought so.
It's not very good for the image of the club, is it?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Here's another one about images of I saw. Actually, I did this. I think I did tweet a picture out of him.
Yes.
Did you see Joe Ledley recently?
Joe Ledley,
who's a player now. I can't remember where he played for Sunderland now or somebody.
Sunderland.
Anyway, he's got this massive beard, right?
Right.
And there's a tweet here from somebody, a text rather, who doesn't give a name. Why don't footballers who are wearing beards that make them look like hillbillies shave them off for sports relief and leave beards to distinguished gents like yourselves?
Yeah, well, that's
I mean, I don't have a beard. But, I mean, this fashion now, a lot of rugby players have got them, so this massive long beard, like a foot long.
Which I think is ridiculous,
like the side of a hedge.
Considering that rugby is a game where, most rugby players try to grab the extremities of their opponents' bodies in
I saw a terrible story about that today, actually.
And wouldn't you think that they'd just grab their beard and yank it up, just try and yank their face about with that?
Yeah.
What are you going to tell me?
No, I said I saw a terrible story. In fact, Robin Schoenhofer tweeted it out earlier on today.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace, Joe Ledley plays for, sorry, I should say. About a rugby league player who had an unfortunate situation in a tackle, and his penis was practically ripped off.
Oh my God! Do we need to talk about this?
Well, it just occurred to me that it was a story I wanted to mention.
Well, I'm surprised that a very well brought up young lady like Robin, was able to actually get that story out past her lips. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think that you should get into that sort of scenario. But I mean, 11 stitches this guy had. I'll tell you his name in a second.
Probably never be the same again,
Well, his name was Hayden Peacock, bizarrely.
Yeah,
suffered partial dismemberment while playing for French team AS Carcassonne.
Oh my God!
Last month. Now, luckily enough, he's feeling better and he's able to joke about it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he thinks it's funny having your member sort of nearly severed, but not something that I would personally want to go through.
I took the ball off the scrum and made a half break, and their centre came across from the inside and reached out in a last ditch effort and basically grabbed him by it, right, with one hand and pulled him down.
Excuse me.
By his member.
That's quite shocked me, that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, dear. Well,
he represents Ireland internationally.
Ireland internationally, right, OK, well, there you are. Anyway, look, when we go to Cheltenham on Friday, we certainly won't be doing that sort of here. Do you know what?
I don't think we'll be doing any of that at all, no.
Certainly not. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I've heard reports of people who actually work in similar businesses to us who urinate in bottles and all that kind of stuff because, sometimes when you're in a commentary position, all that kind of stuff, you've got to get out to the loo and all that kind of stuff.
And you can't do it.
You can't do it and all that kind of stuff. But, tipping urine over... You've asked a good question. It's not explained in any of the stories I've read. Where the urine was tipped over a balcony, but who was below that balcony or what was below that balcony is not explained.
Right.
I tell you what's funny. I was listening to Paul and Andy earlier on, H&J, and we're going to be with them in their box on Friday.
Yeah.
Andy actually said, it was the start of their broadcast, I think it was the start of the second hour, 2 o'clock, he said, there are a group of footballers next door. Now, I'm not saying that it was these guys. Yeah. These guys are from MK Dons. Lots of groups of footballers go to Cheltenham and they go to Aintree and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it would be very ironic if we were that close to them. MK Dons is a well-run club. It's run by that entrepreneur, isn't it?
They were
Winkleman, is it?
Controversially moved, didn't they, from Wimbledon?
Yeah, well, obviously.
Which people haven't forgotten.
But they have made great strides. Is it Pete Winkleman? I think it's Pete Winkleman, isn't it? Yeah, who runs it. I'm sure he won't be impressed by that sort of behaviour.
No, I'm sure he won't be. Yeah. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up, we're going to go across to America and find out what's been going on in voting presidentially. Donald Trump edges ever closer to becoming the nominee for the Republican Party. And, of course, it's Ask Porky coming up a little bit later on. This is Talk Sport.
Roll up, ladies and gentlemen, and prepare to be amazed and astounded by Colin Murray's Carnival of Curiosities, featuring a feast of fascinating facts and a farrago of fiendish falsehoods to untangle from the tantalising truths, as Mr. Murray delights and astonishes you with his assortment of amicable acquaintances. Don't miss Fact or Fiction every Thursday morning from 10 on Talk Sport with Regain for Men Extra Strength Scalp Foam, scientifically proven to help stop and even reverse hereditary hair loss. Contains minoxidil. Always read the label.
So what does a good teacher make?
My teacher makes me want to put my hand up as fast as I can in class.
My teacher makes me believe that I can be the best I really can.
My teacher just made me realise that not all subjects are bad.
Make a difference to thousands of lives, including your own. Tax-free bursaries are available to help you while you train. Teaching. Your future. Their future. Search Change to Teaching. Bursaries subject to eligibility.
Download the TalkSport app now.
Can he finish? Oh, yes, he can.
Listen live 24/7. Visit TalkSport.com/apps or your provider's app store to download today and make sure you don't miss a thing. Plus, get the latest news and features from TalkSport.com.
Way too easy.
Download the TalkSport app now.
Paddy Power complaints.
Your Cheltenham offer is nonsense.
You mean this offer?
Money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second in all races at Cheltenham. That's every single race, every single day.
How am I supposed to come second in all races, you nincompoop?
Well, you don't have to come second in all races, but any race your horse does come second in, you get your money back.
Oh, right. That makes way more sense. Thanks, Paddy.
You're welcome.
Win and win part of each race, single bets only. Max free bet £25, valid for 7 days. Stake not included in winnings. T&Cs apply. 18+. Gambleware.co.uk.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. It's the breakfast show that's always ready to take on any challenge.
Join me, Alan Brazil, and a different co-host every weekday morning from 6 a.m. as we tackle all the big stories of the day.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. Ruthlessly tested across the harshest terrain on Earth. Find out more at Ford.co.uk. Hawksby and Jacobs.
Don't touch that dial.
That's right. This afternoon from 1.
It's not great radio, isn't it? Me looking at your laptop.
Talk Sport.
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. Matt has tweeted us from a plane. It says, great show, guys, getting me through my 7-hour flight from New York City to Birmingham. Now, I don't know whether that means he's listening to a podcast. He must be listening live, mustn't he?
Can you listen to the show live on an aeroplane?
Yeah, well, I mean, if he's on, maybe he's in first class, he's just got Wi-Fi.
Oh, can you get that now?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, hang on.
You're the man of the people that flies first class. You should know that.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking, what planes fly from America to Birmingham? I didn't know there were any.
Well, there obviously are, because he's on one. Unless he's coming in via London and then going to Birmingham, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Or Manchester via
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Is it, you see, he could be flying at Heathrow and then...
Well, I'll tell you what, if Matt answers the question, then we'll know he's listening live. How about that?
Exactly, if you could answer the question for us. Because the one thing I don't think happens these days, I don't think you can fly from London to Birmingham anymore.
Okay, well...
I used to do it when I worked on the Birmingham Evening Mail, right, because I was a big shot, and if I was going off on a foreign job, you'd fly down to Heathrow first. But I think that ended... It's such a short flight. It's only about 25 minutes, you know. Yeah. It's about 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, surely there will
be
some flights from Birmingham to New York City.
Well, would they direct? I'm not
so.
sure. I mean, there's plenty from Manchester and Glasgow and
There's not many from Glasgow. There was only one from Glasgow.
Was
it was Continental, yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, plenty from Manchester anyway. I didn't know they came from Birmingham. But anyway...
Carl says Samir Carruthers used to play for Villa, he thinks.
Hey?
Samir Carruthers, he says he thinks he used to play for Aston
Villa.
Villa.
Did he? Well, I suppose he could have done, yeah. Now, why were we playing that Beach Boys music?
Well,
you know
it's partly because Steve, the Man City fan's on from Los Angeles.
Exactly. Let's speak to him first, and I'll tell you the rest of the reason. Yeah.
I think he wants to have a go at you. Hello, Steve.
Yeah,
hello, Steve. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
hear you, Steve.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. At least I was doing good till Mr. Everton grabbed the microphone and started dissing Man City like he always does.
When was I dissing Man City?
I want to know what your problem is with our team, because I'm telling you, Mike, if you go on all the City forums, everywhere, you're well known to bash us all the time. What is it, Mike? What's your problem? Is it jealousy? What is it?
No, I haven't got a problem with Manchester City at all. I haven't got a problem with them at all, Steve. No, hang on. What are you doing? Are you defending the way your team played tonight? You're supposed to be making an impression in the Champions League for the first time ever. You're the richest club in the world, and you were pathetic. So, what do you want me to say? Sit here and say, oh, well, it was brilliant, yeah?
Well, let's break that down, shall we? So, number one, we're certainly not the richest team in the world. That
really
belongs to Real Madrid. So that's number one.
That's rubbish. That's rubbish. Your club's got more wealth than Real Madrid.
Well, certainly one of the richest clubs in the world, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, I say that. Number two, you forget something. It was a dead rubber. We won away. 3-1, so we've done all the hard work. Did we play a great game tonight? No, but we played within ourselves.
Yeah, pathetic attitude. A pathetic attitude.
By the way, Mike, I'm looking forward to seeing Everton in Europe if there's a war.
Yeah, we may not be, mate. We may not be. But anyway, go on. What else do you want to break down?
No, I mean, here's the thing. I actually quite like watching Everton. I think these guys play good football.
Yes.
But listen, I support my team. I don't have to disrespect anybody else, maybe apart from United. I don't need to do that, so I don't see what your problem is.
I don't disrespect.
What is your problem?
No, Steve, I don't disrespect. I look at what's going on, and then I make reasoned comment on what's happening at Manchester City. And you've got to admit, considering you are the richest club in the world, you underperform. I'm sorry, but you do.
Does it really matter whether we're the richest club in the world? At this stage, when you're in the quarterfinals of the European Champions League...
And how far do you expect to get? How far do you expect to get? Do you expect to win it?
No, I don't think we will win it.
No, well, there you go then. You say another underperformance.
Hold on a minute, okay? Don't start judging us by your own yardstick. Let's talk about Everton for a second, shall we?
Sure. Yeah, go on. Yeah, I'd love to.
So I'm interested because you spend so long talking about investment money going into the club and how we're buying things. You get very stunned when you just had big investment, didn't you? You didn't say much about that, did you?
Well, what's there to say?
They got very excited about it.
What's there to say? We've got
very excited about it.
We've got a new country co-owner who's going to become the owner. He's a billionaire, we know that. Billionaires aren't necessarily equipped to finance a football club, as Randy Lerner, the Aston Villa owner, has found to his cost. So it is a new investment. It's not.
Thank you, Mike.
It's not having one of the biggest, the wealthiest countries in the Middle East suddenly backing your club, is it?
Right. So you're virtually helping my argument. That's the point. Doesn't matter how much money you've got. Look how much money United have got.
Well, look how much money Leicester have got.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. And Leicester have played well. But here's the point. Next year, under Guardiola, you're going to see a very, very different Manchester City.
How do you know?
How do I know? Because I know Guardiola's record of success, not just with big teams, but the way he turns people around, the way he changes them in positions and plays them to the maximum potential.
It's taken you 10 years. It's taken you 10 years to find a manager like that.
Can I just jump in here, guys? Because I can see that there's a bit of animosity between you, which I find terribly unseemly on this show, because it's not what we do. Now, here's the thing, Steve. And answer me this. I, for a long time, was on all sorts of Manchester City forums because I once had the temerity to suggest when Yaya Toure was signed that I wouldn't recognise him if I saw him at a bus stop, right? Now, for some reason, Manchester City fans seem to have a bit of a chip on their shoulder about people criticising their team, much more so than any other team, I think. I don't know why that is.
Oh, come on. You can't be serious.
I am serious. I am not. I mean, there are still Manchester City fans who will send me the audio clip from a show that I did in 2010 claiming that I didn't know who Yaya Toure was. Failing to see the point of the joke, failing to see the point of the whole kind of, the show that we did back then. And you're talking 6 years later, they're still talking about it.
Well, let me ask you a counter question to that.
All right.
When do you ever see Manchester City fans get on the radio and outwardly criticise other teams? You don't see it happening. We're quite happy talking about our team, and we'll carry on talking about our team. We don't need to dismiss anybody else. It doesn't make us look bigger. It doesn't make us better. It just is what it is.
Yeah, but you had 40 years of failure to prepare yourself for a bit of glory, didn't you?
What do you class as failure, Mike?
Well, nothing since 1969, right up to, sort of, I don't know, 5 years ago.
You don't remember us winning the League Cup, maybe?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't realise you won the League Cup, did you, during those 40 barren years?
I just tried to stop your animosity towards each other, and now you've just jumped in again and given him a hard time about not winning anything.
Not at all.
See, that's why I'm neutral in these matters, because it means that I don't have to try and make
digs. Because you haven't got an opinion.
No, because I don't have to make digs at people, and I can look at things with a clear mind, as I'm sure Steve can appreciate.
I do, and I absolutely do. And Mike, look, let's look at it from the other shoe. If Everton in the FA Cup, I personally will be delighted. I think they play really good football. I would like to see them succeed. I don't know whether Martinez is the best manager in the world for you, but...
Well, he was good enough to beat Manchester City in the FA Cup final, wasn't he?
Oh, Matt.
Well, he was.
You can't help it, can you?
Fact of life.
I think Steve's right. I think you have got a problem with Manchester City.
Not at all. Not at all. When he managed Wigan, he turned you over in the FA Cup final.
Okay. How did you do in the League Cup, in the Capital One Cup? I don't quite remember that one, Mike.
Oh, I remember it very well. Very well. We beat you Goodison and went 1-0 up at your place, right, at the Etihad.
Yeah, overall.
So I had a 3-1 lead.
Who got through?
And then, unfortunately, at the end of the day, Manchester City triumphed. Good luck to you. Well done. You won the League Cup again. Okay. He seems like boasting about winning the League Cup.
Now, Steve, I've got a tweet here from Rob who says, stop picking on Porky. He does not pick on Manchester City. Total lies and unfair.
Exactly.
He only picks on Liverpool, which is also true.
No, I don't. I don't pick on them either.
Well, I mean, he attacked Raheem Sterling from the moment he left Liverpool.
I didn't. I said he was very expensive and they wouldn't be value for money. That's all I said.
Right.
And that's proven now to be true.
Well, we'll agree to disagree, but let's put it like this. I won't attack Everton, and you don't need to attack City. Just sit back and admire us as the last British team left in Europe. You can sit back and watch us and enjoy and cheer us on.
Well, it's might be the last British team in the Champions League. There might be some other English teams left in the Europa League, of course.
True.
Right.
True, yeah.
But we don't want to attack them.
Yeah, Liverpool are going to be left.
We don't want to attack them. Steve, delightful to talk to you as ever.
Of course, Steve. Great to have you on the show. Thank you very much indeed.
Steve from California.
Don't phone us, we'll phone you.
No, there's no reason to be rude to the man.
What? Okay.
Steve has been listening to the show for a very long time. By the way, I've been looking at... we've got not only have we got a note from Matt, who says he's in business class, he wishes he was in first on a United flight.
Oh, I see.
Direct to Birmingham.
Into Birmingham. Yeah. Excellent. Well
and you
done.
can also fly
and
there.
He's listening live, is he?
Yes, he is.
Oh, excellent.
And you can also fly from New York to Birmingham with American.
Yeah.
And you can also fly Lufthansa and Air France.
Oh, that's excellent. Well done.
And as somebody else has pointed out, it's called Birmingham International Airport. #planks, says Robbie.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Thank you very much indeed for broadening my knowledge on aircraft schedules and aircraft timetables.
So if you want to go from New York to Birmingham or Birmingham, it might be better, actually.
Yeah.
It might be a good way to go.
Better than going through Heathrow, eh?
Yeah, I've got to get over there at some point soon. Yeah. Now, you're going to tell me about the Beach Boys in a minute, but just hold that thought because we're going to be talking about Donald Trump coming up next on TalkSport.
The sun climbing up over Cleve Hill, the course coming alive. We're at the Cheltenham Festival, oh yes. To the coral box, through the Guinness tent. Won't go to bed till the money is spent. Last night we drank all the booze in the neighbourhood, oh yeah. Something tells me I'm onto something good.
The Alan Brazil Cheltenham Breakfast, live from the festival.
I don't know about you, Ding Dong Bell, but I'm definitely onto something good.
This morning from 6. Talk Sport.
I've been to Louisville, Nashville, Knoxville, Omaha, Shefferville, Jacksonville, Waterville, Costa Rica, Pittsfield, Springfield, Bakersfield, Shreveport, Hackensack, Cadillac, Fond du Lac, Davenport, Idaho, Jellicoe, Argentina, Diamantina, Pasadena, Catalina, see what I mean? I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man. I breathe the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. I've been to Pittsburgh, Parkersburg, Gravelburg, Colorado, Ellensburg, Rexburg.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Ask Porky coming up in the next hour. If you've got a question you need answering, a problem you need solving, a quandary you need quelled, this is the place to do it. Of course, you can find us on Twitter at the two mics or on Facebook. The two mics page is easy to find
as well. Some very nice tweets coming in here from Rich. He says, Porky, you're an inspiration to us all, insightful with adverse conditions. I will name my first cat after you. And Damien says, get well soon, Porky. You are the voice of Talk Sport. And Liz, of course, sending in her usual contribution. Yeah. But it doesn't say anything about me, actually. It says...
Doesn't it? Oh, well, why are you reading it out then?
It says, what part of a family show is this? Old Porky, family show, please note... Hang on, my screen's gone blank.
It's not the only thing that's gone blank.
Please note this, you sound fine when you're shouting. So Liz is all for the...
people are not
the
convinced.
Emphatic voice,
People are not convinced that you are in any way actually as ill as you pretend to be.
Well, hang on.
As usual, you're trying to get sympathy and make yourself out to be a victim.
Hang on. Chad says here, the disgraceful treatment of Porky on the Two Mike Show has to stop. He is the man of the people battling through sickness. Really? Porky rules. So I think that's fair enough.
Well, I'm very glad that you've read out a load of self-aggrandising tweets. There's nothing like bigging yourself up.
No, if people send them in, then I think we have an obligation to air them.
Yeah. Well,
Simple
I don't know where you're getting them from because they're not on the Two Mics feed.
Well, where do you think I get them from? You don't make them up, do you?
Well, you might do.
That'd be ridiculous.
You've got a history of making stuff up in the past.
True, I don't
anyway,
think so.
Let's talk about matters much more serious than that, because there's been more sort of mini Super Tuesday voting going on in America. Donald Trump has won Florida, which is a key state, but he hasn't won in Ohio. So we'll find out from John Le Boutillier, former congressman and author, an expert on these things, how close he's getting to the Republican nomination. John, a very good morning to you. Welcome back.
Mike and Mike, or the two mics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so, I mean, the original sort of exit polls were saying, it's possible that Trump might do it just tonight, but it seems as though he hasn't quite done that. But he's made another big stride towards getting the nomination, right?
Definitely a positive night for him. Kasich, the governor of Ohio, obviously did win Ohio and is determined to stay in the race now and divide the vote up. Really, the plan of these guys is to prevent Trump from getting to the 1,237 delegates number that you need. That's the majority.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get there, and it's disputable whether he will get there or not, we have a funny system. No one could possibly explain it. Every state has different rules of delegate apportionment and what the rules of the delegates are at the convention. But I think most people recognize if Trump does not get 1237 through these primaries, he will not get them at the convention. The party doesn't want him.
Right. So that will be quite interesting, won't it? So, I mean, when is the best sort of estimate of when you'll know whether he's got them?
Probably not till the first week of June. When the last big primaries are. That's California is the biggest primary in terms of delegates, and New Jersey. So we're going to go through April, May into June.
Yeah, that's
and there's a real. I don't know if you all over there realize. I'm sure you do, but there's a huge resistance in the Republican Party itself towards Trump, and the reason he's doing well is Democrats and independents that can come into Republican primaries and vote, and they're voting for Trump like crazy. They love Trump, and they hate the Republican leadership. And what Trump is doing to win the nomination is really hurting his own chances of winning the general election. He's incurring tremendous self-inflicted damage.
Well, it's sort of anti-Trump movement, isn't it? John, you follow politics in this country as well as there. In this country, the Labour opposition are tearing themselves apart instead of fighting the government. Can it not be said that the same thing is happening in the Republican Party? They seem to be fighting each other internally instead of preparing themselves to fight the Democrats.
Yeah, but they can't fight anything until they figure out who they are. The Republican Party is hopelessly split between the old line establishment people who've been there forever and this new breed of Tea Party, grassroots conservatives. And Trump is the hero of those people, and Ted Cruz is a little bit too.
Yeah, Ted Cruz in some ways is
sorted out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing reports that Rubio has suspended his campaign and/or dropped out.
Yep.
Is he finished now?
Yep. Suspension in our law is dropping out, but technically for the financial reasons, you keep the campaign apparatus up and running. But he's done. So we're down to 3. It's Trump, Cruz, and Kasich.
Sure. John, what is your opinion on the way the system works in America? Because in this country, of course, you can't run to be the leader of our country unless you are already a member of Parliament, which is obviously the equivalent to your electoral college. Is it right still that in America somebody can literally walk in off the street and nominate themselves as a potential president and actually become president? Is that still a realistic system?
Well, yeah, I think it's more realistic now than ever before. It's never happened before, and I don't know that it'll happen now. But look, we're the country, we like outsiders. We like people who come and shake the system up. And our system is better than yours at shaking it up. We can shake it up with these outsiders. Like Obama was an outsider. You know, whoever would have thought he'd come along from nowhere. In your system, he'd have to work decades to get in a position to be the leader. Here, he was a rookie, and he makes it. And
well, Clinton wasn't he?
We didn't talk about Hillary and Sanders. Hillary had a big night tonight.
I was going to say. I mean, what is it? What, are we talking about outsiders? How's Sanders getting on?
Well, we got 2 states we're still waiting for. Illinois, which is Hillary's original home state. She born and grew up there outside Chicago. She's narrowly ahead, but there's still some votes to be counted there. And Missouri is the other one where I think Sanders was very close to pulling that off.
So you said it's a good. You said a good night for her generally.
Yep, I'd say she's on track to be the nominee, and her biggest threat is this FBI investigation. That is a bigger problem for her than Bernie Sanders, and I think she's licking her chops to run against Donald Trump because Trump has so damaged himself among women, Hispanics, blacks, educated people. They really can't stand the guy, and I can't. I doubt that he could turn all that around.
How much for her depends upon who she picks as her running mate as well, and who do you think she would pick?
Well, usually you pick your running mate depending on who the other team is. So she's got to wait and see if Trump and who he would pick. And that's usually a mathematical issue of how to accumulate 270 electoral votes. So the leading candidate had been this guy, Julian Castro, who is a twin. He was the mayor of San Antonio, Texas. He's now the Secretary of Health or Housing and Urban Development in the Obama cabinet, young, very attractive Hispanic guy. And he'd be the first Hispanic on a national ticket. And she may put him on there, but Trump has so ticked off the Hispanic voter in America, I'm not sure she needs that guy on the ticket. She might take the senator from Ohio, Sherrod Brown, who's very popular, very blue-collar guy, because Ohio is a state. If she can win that, she'll win the presidency. So, but we got a long way to go, guys. It's only March. It's like sports. You can't tell who's going to win the championship after the first 4 games of the year. You don't know.
Sure.
Well, it's going to be fascinating stuff. Well, listen, John, thank you very much indeed for joining us. A big night for Hillary Clinton, not a sort of mixed night for Donald Trump. And, and for the more we talk to John Libertillier, he seems to sound like he's not convinced that Trump can win the White House.
Well, he doesn't think he can.
No.
He thinks that actually the Republican Party will turn on itself if Trump becomes the nominated candidate.
And then it will get really ugly. Can you imagine Trump at a convention being forcibly stopped?
Yes.
You know?
Well, he might not be stopped. He might become the candidate and then get massively trounced in the election itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe we should go over and do a couple of shows.
Because it's much easier, for in America, for Democratic voters to vote Republican or Republican voters to vote Democrat than it is Labour and Conservative in this country. People don't quite understand.
No.
But it's quite easy to swap sides. Ronald Reagan, as we know from the quiz 2 weeks ago, was a Democrat who turned Republican in 1962.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
You didn't get that one right, though, did you?
I nearly did.
No, you said 1949.
No, I thought about it twice.
Yeah, well, you should have thought about it 3 times.
Aloud.
Drinking aloud was what you were doing at the weekend. Anyway, we got loads more to do. Ask Porky coming up in the next hour. This is Talk Sport.
Tomorrow night from 7
UEFA Europa League updates
on Talk Sport.
Perfect timing!
Teams across Europe battle it out to secure their place in the quarter-finals. Hear extended updates of Spurs' second leg clash with Borussia Dortmund.
Perfect timing!
And Manchester United's showdown with Liverpool.
What a finish we're in for here!
UEFA Europa League updates
on Talk Sport.
With Arnold Clark. It's about an economical commute. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Bet on any Cheltenham Festival race with 5 or more runners online or on your mobile. And if your horse finishes second, William Hill give you your money back as a free bet. Get money back second online or on mobile with William Hill. Qualifying bets include win or each-way single bets placed day of race. Max refund £25 per customer per race. Free bet stake not included in winnings. T's and C's apply. Over 18s only. When the fun stops, stop.
There's nothing here that is real. Nothing that'll stay here for. Nothing I'd like to steal. And I'm sick of it all.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, of course. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. We've got lots and lots of great texts and emails. It's struggling to read through them all.
Yes,
really.
okay, go on
you've
then.
read a few self-aggrandising ones, so I'll just read some at random that I see. Okay,
yeah, good.
Here's one. Let's see, where is it from?
You find it, can you? Yeah.
No.
Looking for one that's damaging against me, are you?
No, here's one from Danny. It says,
Creep.
The guy's here loving phone calls from fans moaning at you, Porky. I love how he plays passive-aggressive and wins.
Yes.
Gazza says, has Porky been using Sharapova's doctor, as he seems to be up and down depending on his mood?
No.
Here's one from Alex. He says, best part of Porky's illness, MG's laugh every time Porky nearly coughs up a lung.
Yeah.
Spot on, MG.
Yeah, mock the afflicted. Why don't we,
Here's one from Andrew, who says, Porky does slate City. He doesn't slate City, rather. He just offered a genuine critique of a poor Manchester City performance.
Exactly.
Justified.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Hackman says, bit harsh Porky speaking to guests like that. Hashtag plank.
Well, hang on. A guest comes on, a caller. It wasn't a guest, he's a caller who comes on. And, you're criticising City, Porky.
Why are you doing a mock Manchester accent?
You've got it in for us, haven't you? You're jealous.
So you will only then feed the beast that thinks that you're against them. Ray says, that Man City fan, Steve, was a plank.
Yeah.
Anyone who takes Porky's opinion seriously enough to be offended by them is a plank.
Well, that's not the reason why he's a plank. He's a plank because he doesn't get that I make a balanced, considered rendition of my views on every issue we discuss.
Stephen
Simple as
says,
that.
long-time listener of the two mics and a Manchester City fan, and I've never heard Mr. Parry be unfair towards City.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. You can tell that to your mate over in California, Right.
But Jason says, brilliant, Porky. I haven't dissed your club, you say, then proceeds to badmouth them.
No, I didn't. I just said that it was a less than inspiring performance in the Champions League tonight. You're through to the quarterfinals for the first time. I think you should have done it with more panache.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
More panache.
Right.
Now, what did you want to tell me about the Beach Boys?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? We played a Beach Boys track. Help me, Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda.
You're not supposed to be singing if you're
Help me, Rhonda. I met a girl called...
I
met a girl called Rhonda in Washington, D.C., actually, yes, very interestingly.
Did you meet a girl called Washington, D.C. in Rhonda?
No. I think she was named after Rhonda in the record, you know, because her parents loved the Beach Boys and all that kind of
Where
stuff.
Where was she from, then? Was she American?
Oh, she was American, yeah, okay, but I don't know.
Did you lure her back to your garden equipment-filled flat?
No, it was. I was over there on a job, actually. I wasn't even living there in those days.
Oh, yeah.
But
so
anyway,
where did you meet her, then?
I met her at the Round Robin, which is the bar in the what's it called? Not the Wiltshire. It's not the Occidental, is it? No. The Occidental was the restaurant. But you know the one I'm talking about.
I do know the one you mean, yeah.
Wilbury or Westbury or something. You know the one I mean.
Yeah,
the end
not
of
the Westbury, but I know the one you
right
mean.
Opposite
I know the bar.
Yeah, exactly. It's right opposite the White House.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that kink of the corner of Pennsylvania that goes up to the front of the White House.
And
so to
was
speak.
she, a nice girl?
Yeah, lovely girl. Yeah, no problem at all. But anyway, look, the point of the story is.
What happened? I want to know what happened with the girl.
Why?
Because people are interested in your past romantic entanglements.
No, you just have a smutty mind.
No, I don't have a smutty mind.
Met a young lady and watched her name was Rhonda,
Right.
and
You just had a drink?
No. It was a very pleasant association. It was more than just one meeting.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
that's
you
all
were
need to know.
working?
I was. I was over there for a week, actually. But anyway, point of the story
Still in
is...
touch?
No. Point of the story is that it reminded me when I heard that record. No, it didn't remind me. What I read today was that Mike Love, who was the lead singer of the Beach Boys...
He's one of the few survivors of the Beach Boys, isn't he?
Well, the Beach Boys are still going. He's 75 years of age.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, there's not many from the original band left, in it? Half of them are dead, aren't they?
Brian Wilson's still alive, isn't he?
Is he?
The guy who wrote all the music. The only Wilson who died was Dennis, who jumped off a boat in somewhere like Venice Beach in California and never surfaced.
Yes. Well, he was in a rage, apparently.
He was in a rage and he was full of drugs, I think.
But does Brian Wilson still play in the Beach Boys?
Well, I don't think they play anymore. But
No, they do. They still play every now and again, yeah.
Yeah, well, Brian Wilson plays because he did a solo show in London about 2 years ago, I remember, getting invited to it, but I never went because I was busy. But anyway, look, the point of my story is...
what is the point of the story?
He's 75 years of age.
Yeah.
Now, when we were all being brought up, we all had our favourite groups, you liked The Who a lot, right?
I did.
I obviously liked the Beatles, the Rolling Stones were around and all that. Could you ever have imagined that our pop heroes would be 75 years of age?
Yeah. They weren't my heroes, by the way. I don't have heroes.
You don't have heroes?
No.
No heroes at all?
No.
Really?
No.
Nobody you look up to in life and say that man did a good job?
Well, saying that somebody, admiring somebody, yes, but I don't use the word heroes because I don't go, I'd like to be that person or I worship that person. No, not at all.
You don't have to worship them. You just have to say...
if you regard somebody as a hero,
yes,
I would say that is more than admiration.
So you don't think that Horatio Admiral Lord Nelson was a hero?
He's not a hero to me, personally, no.
He should be, because he stopped us from being enslaved by the Spanish and the French.
That's ridiculous.
Don't you think Winston Churchill was a hero?
Well, he was a hero for the country, but he's not my hero.
Yeah, he's
a hero for the country.
Your father served under him.
Do you not see the difference?
No, I don't. Your father served under him.
You must be thick then.
Winston Churchill,
the cold addled your brain.
Winston Churchill stopped us from being enslaved by Hitler.
I'm saying he's a hero to the country.
And that makes him a hero to me.
Well, it doesn't make him a hero to me.
That.
Well, that's pathetic.
No, it's not pathetic at all. It's realistic.
I think the flu has started to addle your tiny mind.
Anyway, the point of my story is... why...
You seem to be sounding a lot better now.
How are we able to reconcile the situation that we all grew up clutching LPs under our arms, walking around swapping records with each other? Now, the people who made them are 75 years of age.
Well, it's called reality.
Or, in Charlie Watts' case, nearly 80.
Is that right?
I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, the drummer of the most rebellious rock group of our youth...
Well, yeah, but they're not rebellious anymore, are they?
Well, I think they are.
They played a free concert in Cuba.
They're on tour in South America. They're still doing it.
Well, how are they rebellious?
Unbelievable.
In what way are they rebellious?
Well, because they're still the Stones, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you're young and rebellious, do you really think you're going to listen to the Rolling Stones to get guidance on life?
Remember what Mick Jagger once said to the guy who owned a garage when he leapt out the car and started urinating on his wall?
What?
We're the Stones. We can urinate wherever we want.
Yeah.
Except he didn't use the word urinate.
Okay. Well, yeah, but I mean, if you did that now, it would be pathetic.
Well, you know, he is still the man that he was then.
No,
he's a rebel.
No, he's not. He is no more a rebel than you are.
Yeah, he is.
In fact, you're probably more of a rebel than he is. He's now part of the establishment. Mick Jagger is part of the establishment, whether you like it or not. I can't believe you can't see any of this stuff.
Antecedents.
Not at all.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to talk to you about friendship and bonding coming up next, because I know that you're not somebody who likes to have a lot of friends around you. But actually, you could reduce your stress levels by being more friendly to people. I'm going to tell you why.
Ooh.
Coming up next on TalkSport.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. TalkSport.
No one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke, you broke. Your love life's the away. It's like you're always stuck in second gear. When it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you.
You recognise that?
I'll be there for you.
Do I recognise that? Is that the Manic Street Preachers?
No.
No?
No.
Well, a group like them.
No. It's the signature tune, or the theme song, if you like, of Friends. Matt LeBlanc, of course.
Friends, that's right, Matt LeBlanc. Yeah, got it.
Now,
Yeah.
now, there's a study that's been done. I know you're very keen on these studies.
yes.
This is a Stanford University study by a woman called Elizabeth Kirby, who basically says that bonding with other men may relieve stress in men. Because men who are close with each other have higher levels of oxytocin, which is known as like the cuddle hormone, which makes you better at handling stress. So if you were closer to more male friends, you would actually be handling your stress an awful lot better. They tested a load of rats in cages for a week. They put them in small confined spaces for 3 hours, but before they did that, they let them mingle in one big space, right?
What stress are you talking about, by the way?
Well, no, you can't stress.
No, but I don't suffer from stress, so I don't know why you're identifying it in the first place.
You don't ever feel like you're stressed out?
No, I don't, no.
Really? So you think you can handle everything as it comes at you?
Excuse me, yeah, more or less, yeah.
So you think that when you had almost total heart failure, that was nothing to do with stress?
No, of course not.
Really?
No, it's a physical thing. I inherited it from my father, who died of it, so that's where it came from.
And how about this? Men with friends are less likely to drink and smoke to excess as well.
Well, that doesn't work for you then. Either you've got no friends, or
I don't have very many friends.
Or the theory is passé.
I don't have very many friends. No,
well, I haven't either. I don't need friends.
Well, that's what you keep saying to me. You just denied that a minute ago.
No. A friend in need is a blinking nuisance, mate. I'm telling you.
You don't want friends, do you?
Right?
You don't want friends.
No, not particularly. No. I find them a nuisance. And I haven't a problem. I've got no problem admitting that. If a friend rings you up and wants to, we haven't seen each other for a while, and you say, well, I haven't got time, then they get the hump, then what's the point of subjecting yourself to that?
Right. Well, I'm not suggesting that you have a different view to a lot of other people, but what I'm saying is if you had more friends, you would be able to handle stress a little bit better. That's all. I'm just trying to be helpful. I don't know why you're so anti any kind of advice that I try to give you.
No, I don't suffer from stress, because you try and identify problems I haven't got and then say, I've got a cure for your problem. I haven't got a problem.
You don't think you've got any problems?
No, I've got no.
Everybody's got problems.
Yeah, we've all got problems, but I know how to handle my problems. I mean, I was going to tell you, actually, about another book that I read, right? Amazing book. It's called Cure, and it actually proves something I've been saying for years, literally years, and that is that mind over matter is one of the most important forms of therapy and cure.
Mind over matter?
Yeah,
what do you mean?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Well, sometimes if I don't know, something might happen. You might remember the other day, or just before Christmas, I was walking across the road in the Borough Market and a bike nearly knocked me down. Do you remember?
I do remember that.
Well, that gives you a rush of adrenaline.
Several drinks, weren't you?
Yeah, I was actually. Yeah, I was bringing you a drink. And that gives you a shock, and you go, whoosh, that was close, and that kind of stuff. And if it was a car, it'd be an even bigger sort of scare, wouldn't it?
I suppose if it was a car, you might be dead. I mean, because
possibly.
You were very, very close to being hit by the guy on the bike.
Yeah, but that gives you an adrenaline rush, okay? And that gives you excitement, and you feel then on top of your game and all that kind of stuff, okay?
Yeah.
It can also happen if your phone rings and you suddenly see a name of somebody you'd really love to speak to or have really been wanting to speak to, and you think that lights up your life, and that's an adrenaline rush as well. Now, the point is, when you stimulate things like that and have feelings like that, that is the best form of cure for any sort of ailments that you have, physical or mental.
Well, it's not, is it?
It is.
That's plainly bunkum as well.
No, it's not.
Because, frankly speaking, there are certain ailments that you can't cure that way. There are some ailments, perhaps, that you can cure that way, but not all of them. I mean, for example, if you've got a broken leg, by having a positive attitude, your legs are going to heal any quicker.
Well, no, I don't agree. You see, if you're part of something in life which is very successful...
You see the time.
And it gives you great buoyancy and a great surge of adrenaline and feeling to be involved in that project. For instance, like the 2 mics, and something like that. Then you feel better about everything in life, including physical pain, mental stress, anything you want. Yeah, you do. I know it. I know it for a fact.
So you're saying that if you can put your mind to it, you can basically not be stressed out, you can not be ill, and you can be basically in the picture of health.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, we'll talk some more about that, because you're not very well at the moment, are you? So what's gone wrong?
The Barclays Premier League on Talk Sport. 100% football all weekend, every weekend.
Oh, my word!
and he's put it beyond the goalkeeper.
Saturday afternoon from 5, Swansea versus Aston Villa.
And it's 2-1 to Swansea City.
Sunday from 1, the Tyne Wear derby, Newcastle versus Sunderland.
Promising run from him, and what a goal from Andros Townsend.
Plus, around the grounds with live reports from every game throughout the season. Official partner of the Barclays Premier League, Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and the podcast will be out a little bit later on this morning. A couple of people are reacting to your attack on me. Dave in Watford says, MG, why has Porky suddenly got better from his man flu in the last 5 minutes? I think he's been gerrymandering you and the listeners.
No.
And then he says, Watford FC, Wembley, here we come.
No, it's adrenaline. The adrenaline, when it fires, it can definitely help. It's like, it's better than a cure, so to speak.
Well, is that part of your mind over matter? So, in other words, what I'm saying to you is, there's not a lot you can do about a cough. It's a tickle. You can't stop doing it. Eventually it will wear off and all of that is fine. You can make yourself feel better, perhaps, with a bit of mind over matter, but you can't get rid of a cough with mind over matter, can you?
Listen, did you...
What do you mean, listen?
Well, we've been through that.
I've asked you a question. You haven't answered it.
No,
you haven't answered it. You're giving me all this baloney about how you can fix yourself and make yourself feel fine.
I have a very positive attitude in life, and that's got me to where I am today. Okay?
Where's that?
That's all you need to know.
Where have you got to?
At the summit, okay? Right? So don't you worry about it. Now,
you spent a brief glimmer of time at the summit, and then you slid back down again.
I read one of my education journals today.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know that a guy who's actually employed by the government and is known as a behaviour czar.
Behaviour czar?
Yeah.
These are the guys that came up with the idea of ASBOs and all that.
Yeah, all that rubbish, But, I mean, the problem is, you'd think that, we'd have learnt from the incredible failures in our education system from the past, when all children were told that, we should all be equal in schools. This guy, who's employed by the current government, has decided to advise teachers that they don't need to award stars to pupils anymore for good work. Now, I think that's disgraceful.
Right.
And when I was at school, I remember the Gold Star board, and I was always top of it. I remember that distinctly.
Really?
Oh, always.
You sure you didn't just imagine you were always top of it?
No. I always used to have about 7 or 8 stars, and all the rest of the dross in the class only had about sort of 4 or 3 or 2.
But presumably they were all equally intelligent.
No. I was the brightest kid, honestly.
Why?
Sorry?
Where's the evidence for any of this nonsense?
No, it's true.
Well, but you say it's true, as if it is, but I have no evidence to support that.
But this guy here, right, so it says here, the government's behaviour czar has warned that rewarding children with stickers and gold stars could be counterproductive. Now, this half-bake is called Tom Bennett, OK?
Oh, yeah.
And he's called the government's advisor on pupil behaviour. Really?
And what's his qualification for this?
Well, apparently he's a qualified teacher.
Right.
He says, I don't use sticker charts because I prefer to teach children that learning is intrinsically valuable, not valuable because of extrinsic gain.
Go straight to the top of the class.
Yeah. Rewards like this should be used cautiously, otherwise children learn that good behaviour always leads to reward. What happens when the reward runs out or no longer satisfies? Well, I mean, he's an idiot, because he's already answered his own question.
Well, what incentive does he suggest that they use, then?
Exactly. Rewards like this should be used cautiously, otherwise children learn that good behaviour always leads to reward.
Yeah.
Well, good behaviour should lead to a reward, shouldn't it?
Well, I mean, I've heard stories in the past, say, 2 or 3 years, both in primary school and secondary school, that one of the biggest problems teachers have is unruly children. And unruly children are increasing in number. Yeah. And it's not just because they might be coming from, say, what you might call bad, homes and broken homes and all of that. But it's partly because parents now are incapable of disciplining their own children.
Yeah.
But an awful lot of these really bad kids actually end up sitting in a room with each other, talking about things that are affecting their personal lives, and being given iPads to play with.
That's right.
So that basically there's no incentive to get back into the normal school situation where the classroom is based upon how well you do and how cooperative you are with the teacher and everybody else.
It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. He says he took note from a chap called Alfie Cohn, a parenting expert, who said that using sticker charts is bribery. But that's not bribery. It's incentive and reward.
There's nothing wrong with bribery. bribery.
Of course there's nothing wrong with bribery.
I mean, I get my kids to do things around the house by telling them I'll give them pocket money.
Exactly, that's exactly
what's
what I'm
wrong
saying.
with that?
And if a kid tries hard at school, but he finds school a bit of a drag, but, well, it's for your own future, do it, and then you give him a reward, like you buy him a new bike because he passes 11 plus, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all.
Not at all.
I do hate these people. I literally, genuinely hate them because
Why do you expound so much emotion on it, though?
Well, because what they're doing is they are trying to literally, what's it called? Is it human engineering or mine engineering or social engineering?
Social engineering.
There's social engineering, a system that's worked for 2,000 years. Don't you think that a kid who lived in a cave with his Stone Age parents, if he went out and slaughtered a blinking Tyrannosaurus Rex or something and brought it home for lunch, you know what I mean? He would get he'd get rewarded, wouldn't he?
Well, they'd be very surprised that they were walking the earth with dinosaurs, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what's happened ever since day one of civilization. So then to suddenly get to the 21st century and decide, oh, well, the idea of effort and reward should now be phased out because it's no longer applicable to human beings, it's just nonsense. It's utter garbage and nonsense. It really is.
Yes.
It really is. And it drives me mad that
But is it not just symptomatic?
So-called progressives.
But it's symptomatic, is it not, of the problems that we face, generally speaking, because competition is now considered to be a terrible thing in many areas. It's not quite as bad as some people make out in schools, but it can be, it's not, for example, it's not entirely true to say that winning is not encouraged in sport. But I've been at my kids' sports days in their primary school where an individual race was won by my son.
Right.
But he didn't get anything for it.
Why?
But he was part of a team, and the team was given a prize at the end.
Yeah.
So he didn't get a prize for winning the race.
Yeah, rubbish.
Which I thought was a bit daft, really.
I tell you something else about schools as well. You and I both nearly went to Aberystwyth University, didn't we?
Well,
I went for an interview there.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I told you. Because
No,
I told you the train journey there took about 5 hours or something. Are
you sure you're not just retelling my story?
No.
You never told me you went to Aberystwyth University.
I did, for an interview.
Did you?
Yeah, before I went to the University of the Trent. And I had to get a train from Manchester to Birmingham, Birmingham to Cardiff, Cardiff to Aberystwyth, and then reverse route again.
Really?
It's impossible to get there.
Oh, well, I went through Shrewsbury.
Oh, yeah, OK. Anyway, these bright sparks at Aberystwyth University... Shrewsbury Town, that's right. These bright sparks at Aberystwyth University have decided they might lift their ban on tabloid newspapers, which they've had in place for 3 years.
Excellent.
Yeah, they don't like tabloid
newspapers.
newspapers.
Does that include the Eye, which is also technically a tabloid newspaper? Or do they not use the tabloid phrase as in the size of the paper?
I've no idea, but...
I bet they don't. This is how ignorant they are, because the tabloid actually describes the size of the paper.
They had a week-long debate once to decide whether or not the Daily Express could be defined as a tabloid newspaper, OK?
What a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, Daily Express, after students objected to a coupon urging readers to sign a petition calling for a cut in European Union immigration. Right, ban the Daily Express, it's a tabloid.
But also the idea...
So they don't like free speech at Aberystwyth
Well, no, they don't. I
University.
mean, this is the point. Yeah. I mean, people are saying things like, well, we have to ban this because we don't agree with it.
Yes.
It's nonsensical. That means they wouldn't even allow the New Day in, because the New Day technically is a tabloid-sized newspaper.
Exactly.
And it's all about the British schools shake-up on the front today.
Absolutely. Fortunately, there are still some bright students around. Some guy set up a campaign group of his own, which was Students Against Censorship, to fight the ban. And
have they been banned?
And sorry,
have they been banned?
No, but
censorship.
in a very short period of time, he's got 128 Facebook members all saying this is a curb on the freedom of speech.
Right.
Get rid of it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Now, on the back of the New Day, they've got this very odd thing,
unbelievable,
where you're supposed to fill out a little box.
Please explain it to me.
Well, yesterday I think it was write down something or other. The top 3 eBay searches that you've done.
Yes.
And I don't know why you would want to write it down, since you already have it in your head.
Yeah.
Today, it's called Personal Listography. List 3 fictional places that you wish existed.
I mean, it's just so much garbage. So much senseless, brainless, hopeless nonsense.
I've got to tell you this, right, because it can only happen here. We've got this brand spanking new system in the office, right?
Yeah.
Which has had a few teething problems. I've just had a message that's come up says you may be a victim of software counterfeiting.
Oh no! Go on now.
No, we certainly don't. This is Talk Sport. Loads more to come.
Get the job done on Talk Sport with Toolstation. Will Spain reign again?
And Spain are into the lead.
Are France in with a chance? Or will the Three Lions finally rule? As the
International League prepare to go head-to-head to lift the biggest prize in European football? Join Hawksby and Jacobs every Monday from 1 to find out which team can get the job done. UEFA Euro 2016 on Talk Sport with Toolstation. Low prices on top trade brands. Open late 7 days a week. Find your nearest branch at toolstation.com.
Pack more style into your life with the spacious new Mini Clubman. 6 doors, seating for 5, a flexible folding rear seat design, and enough boot space for your matching luggage. Or the complete record collection and retro chairs that just said, "Buy me." The stylishly spacious new Mini Clubman. Everything that makes you stand out fits right in. Book a test drive at your nearest Mini Centre or mini.co.uk/space. Test drive is subject to status and availability.
There is a person who can help deliver aid to the desperate under the most challenging conditions. They can maintain equipment so advanced most don't even know it exists. And they can start by committing just 27 days a year. That person's you. As an RAF reservist, you'll receive world-class training to develop new and existing skills. And you can do it all in your spare time. Find your role as an RAF reservist. Search RAF Recruitment now.
The stage is set. Dreams will come true. Heroes will be born. And Alan Brazil is chomping at the bit.
Hey!
The Cheltenham Festival is here. Don't miss race previews, updates on all the runners and riders, plus everything you need to keep up with all the action throughout every day of the Cheltenham Festival 2016. The Coral Daily Download, live from the Cheltenham Festival. This morning from 6 on Talk Sport with Coral. Think Cheltenham, bet Coral.
Colin Murray.
He's got this power that he emanates.
Got it. In die.
This morning from 10.
Oh, his brother Bob.
Advice for you. Moz.
Moz?
Yeah.
Moz, that's a really odd name, isn't it? What's that stand for?
Moz, it's probably short for Morris, isn't it?
Is it?
I suppose so.
yeah.
M-O-Z.
Don't
You need to man up.
Any Mozes?
Well, we used to have a Moz in charge of the station.
Oh, of course.
Moz D.
Yes,
Have you
right.
got him already?
No.
You need to man up, Porky. A good diet will sort you out. Hashtag Fatso.
Oh, really? That's very nice, isn't it? Thank you very much indeed,
Well,
for those kind
everything
words.
to help you out. And Steve is continually sending in horse-related jokes.
Oh, why?
And he says he's going to keep doing it until we read one of them out.
I'm going to read one out then. Just keep him happy.
What do you call a horse wearing Venetian blinds?
Horse wearing Venetian blinds, I don't know.
A zebra.
Zebra? What's that?
Well, a zebra is what looks a bit. It's a black and white striped horse. Is his joke. So if you've got Venetian blinds,
it's not very funny, that. So
no,
don't read any more, right? If it had been funny, I'd have said, OK, we'll read another one out.
All right.
Listen, do you want to hear about a miracle penguin?
What?
Do you want to hear about a miracle penguin?
I saw a picture of a penguin standing in the middle of a road. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, that was in
the Falkland Islands.
Falkland Islands, that's right. I saw that as well. Because I do like to draw the attention of our audience of millions to wildlife. You know, yesterday I highlighted...
You're a big fan of penguins, aren't you?
Yeah. And yesterday I highlighted the situation regarding our gorillas. And in fact, I have posted...
Gorillas?
I have posted a piece, haven't I, on Two Mikes TV.
What, you personally have posted a piece, have you?
Well, we've posted a piece.
Oh, there's the word again.
Yeah, but hang on.
We have posted a clip, which we were both involved in, on Two Mikes TV.
That's right.
Which involves both of us.
Yeah, but
So it turns into, I have posted a clip.
Well, I wanted it to illustrate my concern for wildlife.
Did you?
And what, in fact, it illustrates is both my concern for wildlife and your contempt for wildlife. Throwing bananas at me when I'm dressed as a gorilla, when I'm trying to... Yeah, when I'm trying to illustrate the problems that gorillas have.
Grilla. And that guy Dave that we went to the Everton game from runs the sports bar in Grilla, doesn't he?
Yeah, and the efforts that gorillas have to make to try and save their environment. Now, this penguin is quite amazing.
Did you see the gorillas in San Diego, by the way? There was in fact, we should get LaDonna on about this. She's in San Diego. There was a gorilla had a birthday party in San Diego Zoo.
Santiago in Chile?
No, San Diego.
Oh, San Diego, I see, yeah. What does that... Yeah, so what?
Well, it was a news story. I thought you might have been familiar with it.
What, gorillas having a...
A gorilla had a birthday party in a zoo in San Diego.
Well, lots of gorillas have birthdays.
Well, they don't have birthday parties, do they?
Yeah, they do.
When was the last time you saw a gorilla having a birthday party?
I bet you they have a birthday party for the gorillas in Chester Zoo, which is my home zoo.
Well, if you knew anything about Chester Zoo, you'd be able to tell me.
Well, I think I'd just take it as read that people do it. Now, listen, let me tell you about this.
Right.
This penguin is called Din Dim. That's D-I-N...
Din Dim?
D-I-M, Dim Dim, OK? What are you laughing at?
It's too good, isn't it?
No.
Dim Dim.
And every year, this penguin makes a 5,000...
Dim and Dimmer.
It makes a 5,000-mile journey to see his adoptive father, who is a human being.
What?
Honestly, it's no joke. I've picked this up.
Are you sure about this?
Who's our Brazilian correspondent on Tuesday morning? Tim Vickery. Next time you speak to Tim, ask him about this. This is in Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, yeah.
And what happens is...
There's not many penguins in Rio, are there?
Yeah, there is, yeah. In Dim Dim is a penguin, and what happened was, 4 years ago, he was found on a beach close to Rio de Janeiro, covered in oil, and he was starving.
Right.
And a guy called U.A.O,
Jow.
Jow, that's right, Jow.
What did you say the first time?
O-A-O, or whatever his name is, right?
Oh, Imagine if that was your name.
Yeah,
and you had to say it every time.
Yeah.
What's your name? Oh,
yeah. Hello. O-A-O, yeah. O-A-O. Anyway, so João Pereira de Souza, who's 71, and is a retired bricklayer.
Is he?
He found Dim Dim, and he literally picked him up, took him home. He looked after the Magellanic penguin. Magellanic. It's a particular type of penguin.
Yeah, is that like an emperor penguin?
Yeah, that's right.
Type?
Yeah. And he took him home, looked after him for weeks, and bathed all the oil off his feathers and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then took him back down to the beach to try and return to the sea.
Uh-huh.
But Dim Dim wasn't having it. Sorry, it's pronounced Ginhim, by the way, not Dim Dim.
Ginhim,
because it's Portuguese.
All right,
it's Portuguese.
Are you sure it's gin then, with a J?
Yeah, it's Ginhim. It's pronounced Ginhim.
Is it?
It's the Portuguese word for money. I don't know why he called him money, but he did. Yeah. Anyway, the little penguin
this
called...
is a long story.
No, Ginhim was so attached now to the old bricklayer guy that he didn't want to go.
Right.
And
what happened then?
Well, because he was so little, he eventually grew into an adult penguin.
Oh, yeah.
And when he did, which was 11 months later, he finally left. And so
So he went back in the sea in Rio, or did he take him somewhere else?
No, went back in the sea in Rio.
Yeah.
And old Yao, what was his name? Jow?
Jow, yeah.
Yeah, was, excuse me, he was heartbroken. Now,
I thought you wanted to put him back in the sea.
Yeah, I did, excuse me. Sorry, yeah.
You're not going to be able to finish this story.
I am,
Thank God.
No, he did want to put him back in the sea.
Call for the nurse.
But obviously, he was, he's heartbroken to leave his little penguin.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Jeez.
He put him back in the sea, and then a few months later, get this is the most amazing part of this story.
Okay.
A few months later, he was walking along the beach again, and to his amazement, Ginhim suddenly swam up out of the sea and came and said hello to him on the beach.
What? He actually said hello?
And followed him home, yeah. So
what do you mean he followed him home?
He followed him home back to the shack where he was brought up.
Rubbish.
He stayed for 8 months.
I don't believe a word of it.
He stayed for 8 months.
What, he just followed him up the road?
He went home with him.
Well, he picked him up, didn't he?
It says he waddled home. Anyway.
Rubbish.
No, come on, this is a great story.
No, because first of all, we don't know how far away he went. So you say 5,000 miles.
No, I'm about to tell you.
Oh, you're going to tell me?
I'm about to tell you if you just shut up.
Well, we haven't got a lot of time.
No, I know. But so, anyway, he stayed for another 8 months, and then he set off again because, obviously the old bricklayer guy, Yao, thought, well, you can't just live here forever.
Right.
So he put him back in the sea again.
Right.
But this time, he had a monitor on him.
Oh, yeah.
What do you call it? A tracker.
Yeah, GPS.
Yeah. So, anyway... So they found out the next time, because the penguin came back another 12 months later... it had swum 5,000 miles.
Right.
So what had happened is when Ginhim leaves Mr. Sousa's home, scientists now have discovered. Excuse me. Hang on, it's not my fault. He swims 5,000 miles.
Maybe he just swims in a circle.
No, he doesn't. He swims 5,000 miles to reach his species' breeding grounds off the coast of Chile and Argentina.
Right.
Which means that one day, it says he might bring his own children back next time if they're able to swim all that way.
Or he might not.
But anyway.
How do they know it's the same beast?
Because it's tracked. It's got a tracker
but I mean
on it
from the first time, though.
Because he recognised him. Because the penguin came out the water and immediately leapt into Yao's arms.
Leapt into his arms.
Because
this is the kind of rubbish you used to write for the Daily Express.
No.
The penguin did not leap into his arms. Neither did it follow him home. Neither did he have a conversation with it.
The penguin thinks that Yao, the old retired, gnarled old bricklayer...
Age 71. From Church Street, Rio de Janeiro.
Is his father. He thinks Yao is a big penguin.
He doesn't.
He does.
No. Why, is he black and white?
No, of course, it's not black and white, but I mean, penguins don't actually see what they see. They see what they think they see, if you see what I mean.
So, what, a bit of a deluded penguin. Well, it's a charming story, if true.
It is true.
I don't believe a word of it.
It is true.
No.
It goes off and goes back to its breeding grounds once a year, swims 5,000 miles there, 5,000 miles back, spends 6 months with U.A.O. and then goes off again. Right. It's an amazing story. I've never heard anything like it.
No, well, I'm sure that you...
And what about a penguin being able to navigate its way back 2,500 miles on a journey?
Well, that's what they do.
That's like crossing the Atlantic, that is. That's amazing.
Well, he's swimming from the north of South America to the south of South America.
Yeah.
It's not like swimming across the Atlantic.
No, but it is. It's the same distance. Imagine a little penguin. Imagine if you were in the QE2 crossing the Atlantic and all of a sudden you overtook a little penguin.
Yeah.
You'd think to yourself, that little penguin can't survive on its own out there.
Why would
all
you
this
think
sea.
that?
Well, because...
It's where they live. They live in the sea.
Yeah, but they need landfall. They need landfall, don't they, to get food and all that kind of
icebergs
stuff.
in Rio, is there?
No, of course not icebergs, you fool. But don't you think a penguin would get incredibly exhausted swimming 5,000 miles?
Because that's what they do.
No, I think it would. I think it would. I know more about penguins than you do.
I think it's so gullible.
No.
That, I could sell you some swampland in Florida.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
We shall see. Freddie says, get the boffins behind the glass to knock up the Out Here brothers with Porky's "Oh-way-oh" on Boom, Boom, Boom. Yeah. We'll see how that one goes. Coming up next, it's time for Ask Porky already.
Indeed it is.
Hope you're ready. I hope you're going to be able to speak without coughing for 5 minutes.
I will, don't worry.
This is Talk Sport.
Talk Radio is coming.
The UK radio universe is expanding. Now you can hear supermassive speech radio from the master architects behind the world-beating Talk Sport.
It's a new frontier in broadcasting as Talk Radio boldly goes where no other radio station has gone before. With a stellar lineup of outstanding on-air talent and all-killer, zero-filler content.
Talk Radio, a big bang in broadcasting.
Across the UK, online and on DAB. You're going to love
Talk Radio.
Starts
Ask Porky when lots of people send in their questions.
I'm here to help.
Some of which are about business, some of which are about personal relationships, some of which are just about facts that they need sorting out that they've been arguing about perhaps with their friends. And so we've got a whole selection here, Mr. Parry, as per usual.
Okay, mate.
I shall do them in as quick an order as I can.
Rat-a-tat-tat.
And let's start off with this one from John. He says, hey, Porky, I was thinking of going abroad this year. Should I flag down a car and offer the driver 30 quid to take my family to the airport? This would save me from booking a cab or excessive parking fees. Do you have any recent experience of this budget method of travel that you could share?
Yeah, well, you're referring to me getting home from Liverpool on Saturday night when I had to take extreme measures. We had to get to the station to get a train, last train 10 to 8 out of Liverpool on a Saturday night, and we had to make it, otherwise we'd have been there overnight and we had business to get back to and all sorts of things. All I did was stand there and say to people, if you'd be kind enough to take us, I will recompense you for your trouble and your time. Thank you very much indeed. It worked. We got there. It was positive. You've got to think positive in life. Don't think negatively. What would you have done? Stood on the pavement and let the train go without you? No, you've got to do things. Get on with it.
OK, here's one from Rob, who sent it on Twitter. He says, if you were an American, Porky, who would you vote for the next President of the United States?
If I was an American, I'd be appalled at the choice of candidates. I wouldn't want to vote for Hillary Clinton. I wouldn't really want to vote for Donald Trump because he's such a loose cannon. Hillary, I think, has a track record of public service which would make me doubt whether I could trust her implicitly as my president. So the answer is I probably wouldn't vote.
You'd abstain?
I'd abstain.
Interesting. Darren says this on Facebook. Porky, I have an average weekly pub tab of about £200. Do you think this is excessive or not enough to be classed as a professional bladderator like yourself?
I think you've got a problem, pal. Anybody who spends £200 a week on drink needs help. £200 a week is £10,000. £10,000 earned in this country at 40% tax rates is £14,000. That means £14,000 out of your salary. And the average yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
You don't get taxed up until after £10,000.
Well, I'm sorry.
If you get taxed on 14,000,
no,
you only have to pay less than 22% or something.
You don't understand the argument. I'm saying that 10,000 plus the tax rate, if you're a 40% taxpayer, is £14,000.
Well, not at that level.
No, it's not at that level. If you just shut up and stop interrupting,
you seem to be feeling better. Suddenly.
If you earn £42,000, right, and you spend £10,000 on drink, you're effectively spending £14,000 because £4,000 of that is tax that you've paid out your 42. It is, believe me, it's 1/3 of your salary.
Okay.
You've got a problem, and you should go and see an advisor because you're either drinking yourself to death or getting yourself into debt.
Yeah, go and see yourself an advisor. Neil says this: I want to be cooler. Should I take up smoking? I see rock stars smoke, so does that make it okay?
Smoking is a very bad habit and you should not do it. If you're referring to the fact that on the front of the Two Mics Live DVD there's a picture of one or two or the other of us with a cigarette in our hands, that's merely a prop for the front of it during a social session when a photographer snapped that image. But no, I wouldn't advise anybody to smoke. Don't start and you won't have to stop.
Now, this one is a little bit of projection, I would say, from Joseph. How will you feel after Everton lose at Wembley in the FA Cup final?
Everton are not going to lose at Wembley in the FA Cup final. If Everton get through the semi-final, which I expect to be against West Ham, I expect that in the Cup final we will probably play Crystal Palace, although we could play Watford, obviously, as a repeat of the 1984 final. I believe Everton are going to win the FA Cup. I believe that sincerely.
Mazin says this: Porky, one of my colleagues stabbed me in the back. Now he's working for me. Shall I get my vengeance or be the bigger man and forgive him?
No, I would get your vengeance. I don't believe very much in the old Nelson Mandela theory that those who did me down can be forgiven at the end of my turmoil. In my view, it's an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. It has to be, otherwise people regard you as weak. The Russians, for instance, believe that if you do them down, they'll do you down. I think that's a better philosophy in life than turning the other cheek. I think turning the other cheek is weak.
Here's one from Willie. He says, Porky, times are hard and I've had to sell my Porsche to get some money in the bank. I don't really want the neighbours to think I'm totally skint, so is a Mercedes a good substitute to make people think I'm still loaded?
No, what I would do is, if I were you, I'd use rat like cunning. I would get rid of the Porsche and then leave it got rid of for 6 or 8 months, then put the story around that your Porsche was such a powerful car you got done for speeding 3 times. In the end, you were travelling so fast that you got banned for a substantial amount of time for using your powerful car at a speed which was contrary to the rules of the road. Then it gives you 8 months to think what to do next. You may still have money left to buy a less powerful car, and you can tell your neighbours that you bought a less powerful car so as you don't get tempted into getting banned again.
OK. Matt says this: is it OK for a family to pass around a 2-litre bottle of Pepsi in the supermarket before paying? I witnessed this yesterday.
Yeah, it's disgusting and it shouldn't be done. And in fact, if I was in charge of that supermarket, I would have to immediately reprimand the family as having been on the verge of stealing goods. You cannot start ingesting goods, you cannot start consuming goods until you've paid for them. That doesn't belong to you, that belongs to the supermarket. A stiff warning to the family involved, and if they throw any sort of a paddy about being told about it, throw them out of your store and don't let them back in.
OK. Now, here's one from Philip, who says, Porky, have you and MG ever considered commentating on football matches, TV or radio? You guys could be the next Tyler and Gray.
Well, it's very kind of you. I will hold my hands up and say between us we don't know enough about the ins and outs of football itself, i.e. having played it at the professional level that Andy Gray has played it, to be able to actually get into the intrinsics of a game. I do have the broadcasting skills and abilities to be the Martin Tyler type figure. Whether old MG could fill in the gaps is very, very debatable.
Certainly tennis was very, very well received.
Well, very well received. It was indeed.
Well. We might do some more of that, actually, because we've got Indian Wells on.
Indeed.
In fact, you can watch that or listen to that commentary on TalkSport 2 as well.
Indeed.
How about this one from, where is it? Pierre. Dear Porky, if you were Mayor of London for a day, what would you do?
If I was Mayor of London for a day, I would get rid of all the cycle superhighways. The fact that Mr Johnson has spent tens of millions of pounds, perhaps even hundreds of millions of pounds, installing them, I'm afraid is not a good reason not to take them out. They're disruptive, they cause traffic chaos, they give a very unfair advantage to a very small minority of people in the City of London, that is cyclists, who use them for about an hour a day, and then they block roads for the rest of the day. They would just have to go, I'm sorry. And if the cyclists didn't like it, they can stick it in their pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, indeed. Here's one from Ian, who's in Krakow, funnily enough. He says, Dear Mike, where is Porky's Krakow property empire? Some expats here are looking for a bladderation and Rogerisation hideaway.
Don't worry about that. It's off the main square in Krakow. It's part of a property portfolio. Not readily available, I'm afraid, because it's tied up in legalese. However, it was a wise investment, I think. Je crois, I was going to say.
Je crois?
Yeah.
What?
That's French, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
Je pense?
No.
Really?
No.
OK. How about this one from Peter, another Everton-related question. Now that John Stones is not a regular in the Everton team, do you still think he'll be worth £80 million after the Euros?
Yeah, because he probably won't go this summer now, because the whole idea is that with Everton got a new owner, and with their future looking much brighter, with the possibilities they're going to win the FA Cup. No reason at all for John Stones to leave. I think in a year's time he will be worth the 80 million quid I've always predicted he will be, but I still don't think he'll leave Everton.
OK. Here's one from Pete.
Yes.
My work colleague turns up sick. Should I A, politely ask him to go home and not spread germs, B, punch his lights out?
Well, it depends what the level of sickness is. If he turns up sick because he's got a broken leg, then obviously you've got to say, don't you realise that we test scooters in this building and you can't test a scooter with a broken leg? If, however, your friend turns up and he's got some sort of allergy, then I would definitely say, look, if you're going to put other members of the staff at risk, you should go home. Fortunately, I'm able to contain my allerginess and not put anybody else at risk. I have that ability.
Well, I certainly hope that's the case, otherwise we're all in trouble. Here's one from Richard. It says, Porky, what is your earliest memory?
My earliest memory is of being taken home from hospital after the ball of fat was removed from my stomach.
That's brilliant.
I don't know what you're laughing at.
How can you remember that?
I do.
How old were you?
About 8 months.
OK.
Yeah.
Now, serious question from someone looking for a ticket for the semi-final at Wembley.
Yes.
Kevin says, what is my best chance of obtaining a ticket for the semi-final at Wembley for me and my daughter? I'm an Evertonian, of course.
Well, I would love to help you on that one, but there's going to be a lot more Evertonians who want tickets than tickets will be available.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think the issue for semi-finals, 90,000 seat stadium, I think it's quite high. I think it's about 32 or something like that. But nevertheless, that won't satisfy the numbers of Evertonians who want to go. All I can say to you is this. If you're a season ticket holder, if you're a shareholder, if you're a long-standing fan, you should have tokens from your programmes at the home games. You're going to have to use that method.
But if you're not in that sort of situation,
yes.
Is it almost impossible then?
I would say so, yes. I would say it's largely impossible. But it's a good system because it has to reward loyal fans.
Yeah.
No, I'm both a season ticket holder and a shareholder, so I don't anticipate a problem.
But do you not also then have to worry about the numbers of tickets that the FA grab for themselves?
Well, as I say, it's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 usually.
See, that's too big in my opinion.
Well,
that's another story.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Well, final question. Car-related one again from Kerry.
Yeah.
He says, I'm in the market for a new car.
Right.
He says not necessarily a brand new car,
yes.
but he says I have a dilemma. I need a 7-seater and can go the less expensive route and use my extra income. By the way, I took on that second job you advised against last month to service my dad's, or I could get finance on a nice motor that I really like. What do you advise?
I'd get finance on a nice motor.
And he's got a picture here of what looks
yes.
like a nice sort of M-Class Mercedes
yes.
that you could get.
Yes.
Or what looks like a sort of Vauxhall...
I'd go for the new one. Go for the new one because the reason is that gives you peace of mind. It's not going to break down. It'd be very unusual for a new Mercedes car to break down. Therefore, you say to yourself, OK, I've had to pay a bit more, but my peace of mind is I'm not going to be worrying about being stranded in the New Forest with my children because my old clapped-out banger has broken down and I've had to call for help.
OK.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying,
yes.
Well, that's an interesting piece of advice, but you might might get into more debt now because of that.
Well, it happened to you, of course, didn't it?
What was that?
Your clapped-out old banger packed up in the New Forest.
No, it wasn't a clapped-out old banger. It was a very, very well-looked-after Land Rover, but
really?
Unfortunately the gearbox failed.
Yeah, exactly.
As can happen.
Yeah, gearbox blew up, yeah.
But that's the end of Ask Porky, I'm afraid.
Okay.
And there'll be the same again, same time next week. We've got to work out what the Porky quiz is going to be. Tomorrow night, of course, Porky Vision. This is TalkSport.
Indeed.
At Jewson, we're always squeezed full of great deals and bursting with the best stock. And now there's another tasty reason to trade at Jewson. Juice by Jewson is the new programme where you earn points whenever you spend. You can redeem your points for an exciting range of rewards and experiences which get better and better the more you save. You'll also get access to instant benefits just for being a member. Juicy! Start earning Juice by Jewson points today by signing up at juicerewards.co.uk. Juice by Jewson, bursting with rewards. Jewson account holders only. Terms and conditions apply.
John, I think we need to make our marriage work harder.
What? It's the moustache, isn't it?
No, it's our marriage allowance. There's up to £212 waiting for us to claim. Although now you mention it, I think you could lose the moustache.
Yes, dear.
If you're married or in a civil partnership and one of you earns less than £10,600 and the other pays basic rate tax, there is up to £212 of tax savings waiting for you to claim. It takes less than 10 minutes to apply at gov.uk/marriage allowance.
Sky Bet.
And as they turn into the final straight, he's moving away as they approach the last flight. And he's down! He's fallen at the last.
Whatever happens at the Cheltenham Festival, the first race is on us. Every day, money back as a free bet if you lose the first race. For new and existing customers, Sky Bet. It's betting better. 18 plus. Gambleaware.co.uk. Selected markets and eligibility restrictions. T's and C's apply. When the fun stops, stop.
As every sports person knows, timing is everything. It can be the difference between standing on the podium and going home empty-handed. It can be the difference between a sweet first touch that finds the corner of the net and the missed kick that ends up in row Z. And when it comes to hereditary hair loss, timing is vital as well. Because the earlier you start using Regain for Men Extra Strength Scalp Foam, the higher your chances of success. An estimated 7.5 million men in the UK experience hereditary hair loss, many of them before they're 35. But fortunately, Regain is on hand with all the information and support you need to help you separate the facts from the fiction. If you've noticed you're starting to lose your hair, you need to understand exactly why it's happening and what you can do about it. And now Regain has an app that gives you support and advice to track your progress and maintain your twice-daily routine. Download the Regain for Men iPhone app from the App Store today and start separating the facts from the fiction at regain.co.uk. Regain contains minoxidil. Always read the label.
Talk Sport, the radio station with under-soil heating.
Yes, unbelievable.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Incredible footwork.
Oh, yeah. Talk Sport.
Here we go.
Oh, way-oh.
Way-oh. Oh, way-oh. You know, or yeah, whatever his name is, right?
Oh, way-oh. Oh, way-oh.
Hello. Oh, way-oh.
That's very good, though, isn't it?
Way-oh. What do you mean?
That's just your pronunciation of that guy's name.
Okay, so you know, it was a.
That's me.
An explanatory slip.
You must have a dulcet tone when I say it. To be fair.
No, I don't think so.
Now, by the way, I got a few messages for you,
right,
on all sorts of things. But I meant to read this one out the other night,
right?
Because I got this from Eric. You know, we were talking last week about you possibly chartering a plane, to New York. Filling it full of fans and basically getting bladderated. Going
the Ryanair
plane. Yeah, the Ryanair plane.
Yeah.
Now, this is from Eric. He says, Mike, I've just finished listening to your podcast from Friday. Great as ever. I'm an aircraft painter and listen to Porky's great idea regarding New York, but I would advise him against a livery change, as I do them weekly, and the cost runs into many, many thousands. Yeah. He says, I hope the trip materialises.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
So just a bit of advice. So what we don't want to do, basically, is
paint the two mics on the outside of the plane.
Exactly.
Or Porky's Palace.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Now, of course, lots of people are commenting on your penguin story.
Yes.
And many people seem to think that it's true because they read about it in a paper.
Right, okay. Right?
For example, Ray the Penguin, I read the same story about the Penguin in Monday's Daily Mail, so I'm with Porky on this one.
Thank you.
Steve the Trucker.
Thank you.
Who's waiting for a ferry in Dover. Steve in Manchester says,
yes,
Porky, your Penguin story is true. It was in the Daily Mirror. Get well soon, mate.
Thank you very much.
Since when did it being in a paper and having all those facts recounted make it necessarily true?
Well, what normally happens is, you see, I read my science journals. They come delivered to my house, okay? And then I see these great stories, and then I tell you about them. Well, I'm not the only one who gets the journals. I'm not, newspaper offices get them as well, and they look at them and they think, wow, it's a great story.
What I'm saying is that there are certain ways that you and I both know that newspaper stories are written. And sometimes embellishment is employed to make the story a little bit more kind of entertaining. Well, like, for example, the penguin jumping into the guy's arms or following up the road. That clearly doesn't happen. And that's the kind of thing you would have written into a story to make it a bit more colourful.
You might want to use the word embellishment from your point of view.
I've never embellished a story in my life.
Neither have I. That never came into my vocabulary. So I don't know why you've suddenly invoked that in my name, because it's not true.
No, because what you do is you attempt to sort of sex the story up when you don't need to. If it's a decent enough story, you don't need to do that.
What I would say is that I will always defend my profession and say if they've taken it out of a science journal and put it into a national newspaper, it has been thoroughly checked out and found to be completely accurate and true.
Really?
So therefore, when I bring it to you first, I think I deserve the credit for having done exactly the same thing, okay? Right. So just remember that, pal. I am at heart a journalist, you know?
You are, yeah, but you're also an embellisher. Steve says this, the most truthful thing I've ever heard Porky say. He doesn't know enough about football, so he's a tennis expert then, is he?
What?
You're not listening, are you?
Yes.
No, you didn't hear that.
Yes, I did.
I can see that you're drifting off
Football
already.
and tennis, yes, go on.
Well, he's saying you don't. It's the most truthful thing he's heard you say is that you don't know enough about football to be a commentator.
I didn't say that. What I said is I hadn't played football at a professional level, and therefore we don't know the ins and outs of it as well as Andy Gray. That's all I said.
Yeah, okay.
And I'll just stick by it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, here's what Andy has to say about your mathematics on the tax front.
Okay.
You need to earn £16,667 to net an income of £10,000 at 40% tax rate.
Well, there you go.
The 10K is net and represents 60% of the gross.
Yes.
Hashtag plank.
Yes, thank you very much indeed for explaining that. But you were trying to make out, no.
Well, no, because if you
didn't understand the economics of it at all.
No, I did, but
No, you didn't.
the error that you made was by immediately assuming this guy was on the high rate of tax, which he wouldn't necessarily be.
No, the error you made was assuming that that's all he earned, and he spent it all on cigarettes. It was obvious what you said. Sorry, spend it all on drink, I mean. It was obvious what you said.
If you're on a lower rate of tax, then you wouldn't be paying any tax up to £10,000. In fact, the first £10,000 you don't pay tax on at all.
Yes, well, no, you don't. But, I mean, you couldn't just live on that money, could you? If you spent it all on
Some people
drink,
have to.
You'd need other money for food.
Now, how about this one from Nom de Plume in Camden?
Yes.
Evening, MG. More clueless ramblings by Porky. He rightly, in my opinion, castigates the MK Dons player for his urinating antics at Cheltenham, but hails Mick Jagger as a rebel for his reproach to a man over urinating up a wall.
Yeah, well,
there is a bit of inconsistency.
Well, hang on, that was a garage wall, and that was, I would say, in my estimate, at least 50 years ago.
Right.
And it was a wall in North London. It wasn't a public sporting arena where urine was thrown into the air.
I think the word's been used far too much on this show, to be honest.
What?
The word urine has been used far too much.
Well, I do as well. That's disgusting. And it's because of those yobbos and slobs who play for, what was it, MK Dons?
MK Dons,
Disgusting people.
Terrible. This is Talk Sport.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
You and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. So before we go do it all again, you better catch your own train.
It's another show nearly over, you know.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
We haven't worked out. We should work out, by the way, what the Porky quiz is going to be, because we haven't as yet done that.
Right, okay.
Now, I suppose there's a couple of things. I mean, a couple of people are suggesting penguins, which seems to be one of your favourite subjects.
I don't think so.
Also, I suppose you might suggest that because Cheltenham is coming up on Friday and we're going, you could do something sort of either Cheltenham-related or horse racing-related, but that's a bit specific, isn't it?
A bit specific, yes.
I mean, we prefer to tie it up before Wednesday, if possible, so that the independent quizmasters can have some time.
Yes, I'm just thinking about, the journals I've been reading lately and books I've been reading, all that kind of stuff. What about, we could base it on a TV series, for instance... the Sweeney. Have we done the Sweeney?
We've done the Sweeney.
Done the Sweeney. Okay,
I think you got 3 out of 10.
No, I don't think I got more than that. Yeah,
we didn't get more than that. You've only got more than 5 out of 10 in 2 quizzes, right?
Excuse me. What?
There was the one you did quite well on recently, which I've forgotten about.
Yeah,
and then there was a chocolate quiz.
Chocolate quiz. Okay. What about considering everything we've got there? We could do FA Cup semi-finals.
FA Cup semi-finals.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a big enough subject?
No, it's too big a subject.
I mean, I think we've done the FA Cup.
Yeah, that could go back 90 years. Yeah. I don't think we'll do that.
And you didn't think it was fair because you were asked some questions about things that happened in the 19th century.
No, it's absolutely true. You're absolutely true. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Going to have a bit more of a thought about it. I mean, we've done the.
Well, have a bit more. Maybe you could let me know, or the producer know.
I think it's tomorrow morning.
Executive producer before the end of the morning here.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Maybe I'll think about it on the way home.
Okay.
Although you're not going home, are you? Because you're on the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't you think you should just go and get yourself better?
I would like
because I'm very very serious about not wanting to drag you around Cheltenham. And, you being unable to enjoy yourself.
I would like to, but unfortunately I have responsibilities which I take very seriously.
Russ in Birkenhead says, surely Porky not turning the other cheek is not the Christian attitude which I thought you'd want to take.
No, I don't have a terribly Christian attitude towards people who put me down. If somebody has been injurious to me during my lifetime, then they're in my little black book. Don't worry about that.
It's quite a big list, I would imagine.
No, it's not. No, it's about, I would say there's about 10? 4 names in there.
Only 4?
Yeah, about 4.
That's quite a few.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not many, is what I would say.
No, that's right, yeah.
Now, one of the things I'm hoping that I can do, and I'm looking forward to doing, is I can switch off the heater in here now. Because I have to tell you, I've had to put up with what can only be described as a very, very dangerously high level of warmth in
I'm
this
sorry,
room,
but I've needed
it's forced me. I've been sweating. I had to take off the jumper, but I roll my sleeves up.
Well,
I've then had to go outside when I've been able to have a little break and a smoke.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm now running the risk of becoming ill as a result of your selfishness.
No, usually I don't even like the heat, and I try to avoid it at all costs. But can I just tell you that tonight I've actually got a vest on underneath my shirt, which I never wear.
A vest?
Yeah, I've asked for the heat to be turned up, and I am literally, on the advice of medical people, trying to sweat my illness out of me.
Well, that's a good way to do
works.
The other thing, to be serious, if you haven't got got shot of it by, say, Thursday, I would drink a lot of whiskey.
No, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Whiskey makes me feel sick.
Whiskey is a great cure for a cold.
Makes me feel sick.
It is.
Tell you what I did do. First thing this morning when I got home, I stood underneath a very hot shower for a good 10 minutes. That made me feel really better.
Did it?
But then, of course, you've got to come out of the shower, haven't you?
Did I not say to you yesterday, go and find yourself a steam room and go and sit in that for a little while?
Yeah, well,
that would help.
Might do that.
Because it would clear your lungs out
and
it would sort your sinuses out.
Yeah, it might do that.
And it might even sweat even more of it out of you.
Yeah, I might do that.
Hey, by the way, we were talking about old Matt LeBlanc and the cenotaph thing.
Yes.
You see on front pages this morning, there's some woman at the top of the BBC entertainment ladder who might be taking a fall for it. Katie Taylor is the boss of BBC Entertainment, apparently.
Yeah. I tell you what I think about that. I mean, Chris Evans, who we've known for a long time, and is a tremendous self-publicist, and I say that as a compliment. I don't mean that as a criticism. In his business, where you want to, big up everything that you do, you've got to be a tremendous self-publicist, and he always has been.
Yeah.
I thought the look on his face when he was considering the damage that might have been done by, the horrible scene of a car roaring round the cenotaph and leaving horrible, great, what they call donut tyre marks on the road. He seemed to be reflecting on that, and this weird image of him coming out of his job at Radio 2, where he does the breakfast show, in his pyjama bottoms and a pair of slippers, and looking about literally 20 years older than I've ever seen him look before, and looking completely forlorn, makes you wonder whether he was kind of thinking, hang on.
It tells you how much makeup he wears on TV, doesn't it?
Well, maybe, yeah, but you would think to yourself, that looks like a man who feels that he's lost a tremendous opportunity in life somewhere, you know what I mean? And I'm not knocking him, we all know Chris, he's been a brilliant performer over the years, but he did look, I mean, he said it was nothing to do with me, I didn't know it was happening, right? Yeah. And people are making allegations that, well, hang on, you're the executive producer of the show. Of course you knew it was going on.
Yeah.
He says not. I believe Chris, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, Maxwell says this. Tell the plank there are no gorillas in Chester Zoo. Apparently there aren't any.
Well, there might not be any at the moment, but that doesn't mean to say there never have been or there never will be.
Okay. And Kevin says, what absolute rubbish about the penguin. I hope this penguin takes Porky down to Tierra del Fuego for a long walk off a short cliff.
I've been there.
Have you?
That's on the point of Chile, down at the bottom of Chile. That
it is, yeah. What's it like down there?
Cold. Very, very cold, particularly in the winter, obviously, and remote.
But does it remind you of a sort of Spanish-type scenario? Or is
it reminds you of a Chilean-type scenario. To be honest, the locals are very native and local. They wear those sort of straw hats and that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And very nice people. They don't speak a lot of English, but they are nice people. There's a load of Welsh people there as well.
Yeah, in Patagonia.
Welsh community, that's all right, yeah.
Well, there's a few Welsh-speaking parts of the world.
Exactly.
Outside of Wales.
That's right, yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Parry. I hope you go and get a little bit better so that you're not moaning and groaning so much tomorrow. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics.
Look at the light!
Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.
Age-old motives of greed, passion and spite led men and women to the chemist. Sex in all its forms drove people to murder. Even sex with horses. Yeah, one servant tried to poison his employer with nitric acid after she disturbed him in a certain situation in the stable with a oh dear me, this is terrible. Sorry, this is a family show.
You can take a horse to water,
what?
But you can't do that to it in a stable.
Yeah, and occasionally people just want one bite, okay? And usually the one is me.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Listen, do you want to hear about a miracle penguin?
Oh, hey-oh!